have control. It's a monopoly over it. You can't listen to nobody else, read from anybody else. So in actuality, you say you take 50%, 60%. You're not taking 101% from the what? Scholars. So stop the game. Stop the what? Stop the game. Everybody understand this or not? Before we move on to the next point, maybe we'll move on to the next obstacle. I'll share a brief experience with me. The other day, alhamdulillah, the brother, he came in. I won't mention his name. Alhamdulillah, he had graduated from Medina. Sheikh Hassan, he came in. They had asked me when I was in Medina to translate for them. They would bring one of the mashayikh from Kulliyat al-Hadith, sit in his house, and they would translate for Canada. I don't know if it was this masjid or Toronto, Ottawa, but it was telelinks. They were done for Canada. They asked me to translate. So one day, I went in to the brother's house, and I met the sheikh that they had over their house. I didn't know him. I didn't study with him. Okay, he introduced me to him. Alhamdulillah, we sat, we talked, we drank tea. Alhamdulillah, and we started the translation. So after the translation, the questions and everything, I had benefited from the talk. I thanked the sheikh. The people online, on phone, they thanked the sheikh, and I said, Sheikh, the people, they really benefited a lot. Jazakallahu khairan. It was a beautiful class. It was a beautiful lesson. The sheikh, he said, La. He says, don't thank me. He says, don't say Jazakallahu khairan to me. He says, they didn't benefit from my words. He says, the people in Canada, they benefited what? From your words. He says, they don't speak my language. He says, I just gave the information, you translated it, you interpreted it, and you presented it to them in their what? In their language, in the way they understand. He says, so in reality, they learned from you and not from me. And then as we were walking outside of the house, he says, I wish I was like you. He says, because when a man learns two languages, asbaha rajulain, he becomes what? Two different people. So the point we're trying to get from the story is, you see the point how I'm getting to, that language is crucial. It's what? Crucial. If everybody spoke Arabic and knew Arab or Arabian or Arabic culture, it would be a different story. Fitlan. It would be a what? A different story. But there people can barely understand the basics of Islam. And he's saying that you can only take from this translation. Is taking from the translations a good thing? We're not saying it's a bad thing. We're not saying abadan. We never said that. But for that mindset and that approach is what is not practical. It's not what? It's not practical. In actuality, you're not reading from the ulama. You're reading from a filtered translation. And you're not taking from the ulama. You're taking from a select chunk of ulama, or people that you consider to be ulama. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, others that you're not what? Taking from. Everybody understand it? So you have to be careful of being contradictory. You have to be careful of having a double standard. You have to be careful of being hypocritical in what you say. And all of these things, these problems, oftentimes, they spring forth not because the theory is bad, but because of just ghulu, extremism. It's just too much. You're just stuffing it and forcing it down people's throats too much. All right, slow down, pump the brakes just a little bit, and in Bidin Itali, you won't crash. When you drive, it tells you to slow down. It's a sharp turn coming up. You're going fast. Even though you know the turn is there, you may not be able to what? You crash. So just take it easy just a little bit, Bidin Itali, and most importantly, keep a what? Keep a balance. Keep a balance. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. With that being said, the author, the Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, وقد شرح العلماء والمعنى الذي من أجله ألزم الطالب أخذ العلم من أفواه العلماء فمن ذلك قول ابن بطلان رحمه الله كذا يوجد في الكتاب أشياء تصد عن العلم وهي معدومة عند المعلم وهي التصحيف العارض من اشتباه الحروف مع عدم اللفظ والغلط بروغان البصر وقلة الخبرة بالإعراب أو فساد الموجود منه وإصلاح الكتاب وكتابة ما لا يقرأ وقراءة ما لا يكتب الله أكبر ومذهب صاحب الكتاب وسقم النسخ ورداءة النقل إدماج القارئ مواضع المقاطع وخلط مبادئ التعليم. He says here, quoting from another alim, he says that the scholars have mentioned the wisdom behind a person not just taking from books. And from those wisdoms is that there are things in the books which aren't to be read. There are things which are not in the books which are to be read and said. There are mistakes, there are errors, there are printing errors, there are typos. There are things that need further clarification. There are things that are absolute, things that are not absolute, that you cannot necessarily get just from a book. Everybody understand this? You need an actual teacher. An actual what? An actual teacher. Everybody understand this or not? So that's clear common sense. In any field of knowledge, in any field of life, you have to be an apprentice. Study under someone that can speak and walk and talk, and not a silent what? Book. But at the same time, that does not necessitate that you cannot benefit from books. And that's the extremism that we're warning from. Rather, the student of knowledge who sits with the ulama is also supposed to be a bookworm himself. He's supposed to be in those books day and night. And from the ways of truly benefiting from the ulama and taking their knowledge is to read books. Prepare yourself for the class. Bring them issues. Have the proper debate with the proper etiquette, of course. Train with your sheikh based off of what you have what? Read. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear this or not? From the ways of benefiting from the ulama is doing what? Reading books. And from the things that you benefit from the ulama is to learn how to read books. Everybody understand this? Reading is paramount. And if you're a student of knowledge and you don't read, you don't like to read or you can't read, only Allah knows can you even be a student of knowledge. The first revelation that Muhammad got was Iqra. Was to read. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. Let's move forward. تفضلي العائق الرابع. ويعوج أو يعوج به. طيب, he says here, number 4, أخذ العلم عن الأصاغر, taking knowledge from people who are صغير. صغير, whether that means small, whether that means young, whether that means puny, whether that means unqualified, ill-equipped. Taking knowledge from someone who is what? صغير. Literal translation, short. Literal translation, small. Literal translation, young. Clear on that? And also, as the Shaykh will explain, bid'nillahi ta'ala, the other interpretations of this word. Everybody clear on this? And of this term. So it is a major obstacle. It's taking knowledge from, or ilm from someone who is صغير. طيب. The author, he says, لَقَدْ فَشَتْ ظَاهِرَةُ أَخْذِ الْعِلْمِ عَنْ صِغَارِ الْأَسْنَانِ بَيْنَ طُلَابِ الْعِلْمِ فِي هَذَا الزَّمَنِ. The author clearly starts off by explaining what he means initially. He says there's a major phenomenon today in which there are people of knowledge who take from youngsters, صِغَارُ الْأَسْنَانِ, people that have young age. He says, and in reality this is a killing cancer. دَاءٌ عُضَالٌ. It's a killing cancer. بُمْوَرَضٌ مُزْمِنٌ, a chronic disease which will hinder the student of knowledge from his destination. It will turn him away from the correct path which actually leads to knowledge. The Shaykh says, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ وقد اختلف الناس. طيب. It says here, explaining this point, the reason why this is a bad thing, the author says, and the reason why this is an obstacle is because taking knowledge from people who are young, whose feet are not firmly grounded in knowledge, and their beards have not become white and gray in knowledge, along with the presence and the existence of those who are older than them, and have stronger grounded feet than them, it weakens the foundation of the beginner. And it prevents him from benefiting from the experience of the major senior ulama and learning their character, learning their moral manners, which have been honed and sharpened from 2 things, he says. 2 things. He says knowledge and also time. Knowledge and time has what? Sharpened and polished their akhlaq and their ilm. He says, and there are other reasons behind this as well. So pay close attention before we move forward, because that's another problem we have to deal with in the East and in the West, but specifically in the Western countries. And that is, he says, number 1, ma'wujudi, that there's someone who's older than this one or that one who's there. That's the first dabit. الضابط الثاني, he says, وأرسخ قدما, and someone who's what? Stronger. So, is it haram or not haram? Because it's not the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet. Is it a bad thing, even according to the author, to take from someone who's young and there's no one who's older to replace him? From based off of what he said is what? Someone's phone. Please, brothers, sisters, whenever you're recording something, always put your phone in airplane mode. Always put your phone in airplane mode, inshallah. Always. Even if you don't expect someone to call or you don't expect someone, yani, I'm in class, always put your phone on what? Airplane mode and silent, vibrate, because you may have an alarm that may go off. It don't have to be something haram. Just put your phone on what? Airplane mode. I don't know whose phone this is, inshallah. You mind if I put it on airplane mode? Tell you. So therefore, if someone who's older isn't there, then according to the author is what? Samir? It's not the problem. Or someone who is it? I.e. the younger person is clearly, let alone if the older person hasn't studied or hasn't studied at all. So don't, la nakhlat, yani, we don't want to what? Mix things. Type that aren't to be mixed. Certain things have to be mixed and can be mixed. But there's certain things which what? Is cross contamination. Is not to be what? It's not to be mixed. No question. And if you eat something that's cross contaminated, you will get what? Sick. Salmonella, you become ill. This is cut on this cutting board, and this is cut on a what? Another cutting board. They aren't to be mixed. You can eat them together when it's cooked, not like this though. Khairan inshallah. So, that's first and foremost. He says, Abdullah Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, the people will be upon good as long as they take knowledge from their akabir, their seniors. وَعَنْ أُمَنَائِهِمْ. Now that's the only part that you want to hear of the Athar Samir. لا يزال الناس بخير ما أخذوا العلم عن إيش بس النقطة ده إيش نقطة فهمتم لا. That's where the Athar ibn Mas'ud does what? Stops. Naam Sheikh Hassan? That's where what? The rest of the Athar you're not going to what? You're not going to ish? You're not going to hear. Ibn Mas'ud also said what? وَعَنْ أُمَنَائِهِمْ. And from those who are what? Trustworthy. So it's not, yani the point is we're trying to get across is that it isn't, ليست المسألة ليست فقط مجرد إيش؟ It's not just age. He clearly mentioned that. He said akhlaq and ilm. Everybody understand this? So the person who's old also has to be what? Ameen. So if you have someone who's older, who isn't trustworthy, and the young person isn't trustworthy, then this Athar of Ibn Mas'ud does not what? Apply. Fahim now? Walala. Number 3, وَعُلَمَائِهِمْ. And they're actual scholars. Obviously, someone who's older doesn't necessarily mean that he is a scholar. Fahim now? Walala. So we have qualification, and we have integrity, and we have age. And not just what? Age. Nor just ilm. Nor just, it's a whole complete package. And when you take one thing and leave off two things, you crash. For him now, we got this or not? Moving forward, he then says, فَإِذَا أَخَذُوهُ عَنْ صِغَارِهِمْ. And when they take it from those who are young, also this part of the effort is going to stop what? There. He says, وَشِرَارِهِمْ. And they're evil doers. Halaku. So if someone's old, but he's upon evil, or even if it's not upon evil, but a person is constantly being accused of evil, person after person, accusation after accusation for evil, low, debased acts, how can you say learn from this person? Don't learn from this one who has a crystal clear, clean record. Never been accused of doing none of these things, but this one, his record is full of these things. Take from him and abandon him. For him now? Everybody got this or not? This is khilaf of Ibn Mas'ud's statement, let alone of what? Common sense. So it's not just an issue of what? Age. Everybody, it's not just an issue of what? Of age, but is that which is presupposed to come along with the age. He then says, وَثَبَتَ الْحَدِيثُ عَنْ نَبِي أُمَيْتَ الْجُمَحِي أَنَّ رَسُولَ قَالَ. He says, and there's a hadith that's authentic. The author says, is the author's view, is that from the signs of the last day, is that knowledge will be sought to those who are asagir, plural of sagir. وقد اختلف الناس في تفسير الصغار هنا على أقوال ذكره ابن عبد البر في الجامع والشاطبي في الاعتصام. He says, and the people, they differ on what's meant by this word, saghir. Don't take knowledge, or beware of the signs of the last days to take knowledge or to search for knowledge from those who are what? Saghir. He says, some of the ulama such as Ibn Abdul Barr and Shatibi have mentioned them. وقد ذهب ابن قتيبة رحمه الله تعالى إلى أن الصغار هم صغار الأسنان. He says, one scholar, Ibn Qutayba, he says what's meant by صغير is actual what? Age. Is actual what? Age. And he goes on to mention the harms of this. يريد أن لا يزال الناس بخير ما كان علماؤهم المشايخ ولم يكونوا علماؤهم الأحداث لأن الشيخ قد زالت عنه متعة الشباب وحدته وعجلته وسفهه واستصحب التجربة والخبرة ولا يدخل عليه في علمه الشبهة. Listen carefully to these words once more. He says, this is because if the scholars are the mashayikh, yani old in age, he says, and not young in age, because the sheikh, the elder, is supposed to be someone who the pleasure and the enjoyment of youth is gone. And we all know what comes with enjoyment and pleasure of what? Of youth. Listen carefully. وَحِدَّتُهُ, he says, in the fierceness of youth, and the haste of youth, and the foolishness of youth is gone. So if we have someone who's older, but he still behaves what? Ferocious, he's ta'ish, just jumps and says anything. Or he's hasty, or he's foolish, or he doesn't look into what he says and the outcome and the effect and the impact of his words, where he answers a question and allows someone to come into his inner circle that he does not know, then how can he be described as being like this? Everybody understand this? We understand this or not? So the old man is supposed to be what? An actual old man. Everybody clear on this or not? Everybody understand this? If you look at some of the things that have happened here in Canada, right here in Canada, we have to go far, the Western countries, you might sit down and say, how can someone so old talk like this? Or how can someone so old be in the middle of this immature fitna? You have this one and that one fighting, clawing, scratching at each other. He says this, he says that. They used to work with each other. They used to be best friends. He's married to her, his sister, his ex-wife, this and that. It's a childish, it's a game. How can this old sheikh who's so old be in the middle of it, in between of it? And you sit down and you ask yourself, my grandfather, whether he's a Muslim or not, he doesn't have any knowledge. What will my grandfather say if I walked up to him in the living room, Samad, and I said, grandfather, I have brother Fulan, he said this, and brother Fulan said this, and they did this, and it says, what do you say? What would your grandfather probably say? Get the heck out of here. What are you bringing me this childish kiddie stuff for? Without no knowledge. Everybody understand this or not? So it's not just age, but it's age that's supposed to bring a what? Maturity. And a young person is presupposed to be what? Hasty, reckless, nearsighted. He's not supposed to look towards beyond the tip of his nose. And the old man is supposed to be the exact what? Exact opposite. We're not making this up. This is not a joke. This is real life. How can this old person be involved in this nonsense? And if it was any other old person, they would say, go ahead with that immature stuff. They're fighting obvious reasons because they used to be friends. They're competing. That's clear as day. No. This one is right and he's wrong. Did you listen to the other side? Yeah, Sheikh. Billahi alaik. Do you know the credentials of the other person? Have you actually heard the actual words of the other person? No. It's sad. Sad reality. Everybody understand this? Knowledge is supposed to give someone respect and nobility based off of them implementing that knowledge and acting upon that knowledge. Everybody understand this or not? If you don't implement and act upon that knowledge, whoever you are, as we read yesterday, then you lose out on the what? And not even that, you lose out on the what? The actual nur of the ilm. Everybody understand this? He then says, and he has experience and wisdom, وَلَا يَدْخُلُ عَلَيْهِ فِي عِلْمِهِ شُبْهَةً. And he says, and there's not any doubtful thing that's supposed to come upon his knowledge. So you ask yourselves the question, like we just said, was this translation accurate? Was the whole lecture presented? Did he ask? Did he listen to? Does he know nothing about the other side? كيف يقال أنه ما دخل عليه في علمه شبهة؟ فهمت ولا لا؟ هل يعني يصح أن يقال هذا؟ بل نقول العكس قد دخل عليه في علمه إيش؟ بلا شك. He then says, ولا يغلب عليه الهوى, nor is lust and whim something which is dominant over him. ولا يميل به الطمع, nor is greed and control something that steers him around. If you walked into my house, you sat on my sofa, and you start saying things to me, Adam, I don't know who you are at all. Everybody clear on this? I don't know who you are. I don't know what? I don't know who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. And I say to you, what? If you don't be quiet, I want to warn from you. He said, Sheikh, you don't know me. You don't know who I am. If you don't be quiet, saying what you're saying right now, warning from someone that I'm associated with, I'm going to warn from you. هل يقال بأن هذا الهوى والطمع هل يقال هذا? Or is that valid for someone to say the Sheikh doesn't know what's going on in Canada? You can't blame him for the chaos. He's unaware of the problems there. And he's saying the sheer fact of me warning from you, yusqituk, that you'll automatically fall and flop on your face. He clearly knows the power of his what? Right or wrong. Know the person or not. Doesn't matter. If I make you my enemy, you're done. Finished. Everybody understand this? He then says, وَلَا يَسْتَزِلُّهُ الشَّيْطَانِ إِسْتِزْلَالَ الْحَدَثِ. He says, nor is the shaitan to trick him like he tricks the youngster. فَمَعَ السِّنْ الْوَقَارُ وَالْجَلَالَةُ وَالْهَيْبَةُ. He says, so with age is supposed to come respect. It's supposed to come awe. It's supposed to come this glossy glaze of what? Of maturity. Along with the what? The age. And not just the sheer. Not just the sheer what? Everybody with me or not? Not just mujarrad ish. Age. But the age is supposed to what? Come with something, as we just read. Clearness or not. So if those things are not, if they aren't present, if they're non-existent, then the age means what? فهمنا? Everybody got this? قال الشيخ رحمه الله نقلا عن ابن قتيبة والحدث قد تدخل عليه هذه الأمور التي أمنت على الشيخ فإذا دخلت عليه وأفتى هلك وأهلك. Enter كلام ابن قتيبة. He says, in a young person, listen carefully once more. I wish we had a laser pointer to make it even clearer. He says, قد تدخل عليه هذه الأمور. When this word قد comes before the fitna mudari, what does it mean? تكثير, تقليل, تحقيق, فعل مضارع. What does it mean? إن الكذوب قد يصدق. احتمال. He says, and a young person could possibly fall into these things. ولا يلزم من الحدث أنه إيش واقع في هذه الأشياء. فهمنا? It doesn't mean that the young person is automatically falling into these what? Things. So we understand this or not? It doesn't mean that the young person is automatically hasty. It doesn't mean that he's automatically what? Jealous, envious, foolish, reckless. But in most cases, or oftentimes, these things are supposed to come with youth. Fahimna? Everybody got this or not? The Prophet ﷺ, he says, ما رأيت من ناقصات عقل ودين أذهب للب الرجل الحازم من إحداكن. He says, I've never seen women who are deficient in intellect and deficient in religious practice that can distract and ruin a resolute man and ruin his mind faster than one of you. It's what he said to the Sahabiyat. And he asked him the question, what is the nuqsan of our deen? Why are we deficient, etc. This hadith does not mean that every single man is automatically smarter, wiser, and more resolute than every single. It does not mean that. Rather, they're found from among women who are smarter, sharper, wiser, more have better self-control than a man. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to young and old. The pre-assumption of the elders is supposed to be what? Like this. But it doesn't mean that every single old person is automatically patient, sabir, muhtasib, hakim, ba'id al-nazar. La yalzam, wa la yushtarat hadha. Just because he's old doesn't necessarily mean that he has those qualities. Just because a person is young doesn't necessarily mean that he has those qualities. That is the extremism. Moving forward, he then says, وَقَدْ رَوَى ابْنُ عَبْدِ الْبَرِّ عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال قد علمت متى صلاح الناس ومتى فسادهم إذا جاء الفقه من قبل الصغير استعصى عليه الكبير وإذا جاء الفقه من الكبير تابعه الصغير فاهتديا. It means another athar that Ibn Abdul Barr mentioned from Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He says, I know when the people will be upon goodness and when they will be upon corruption. When the fiqh comes from the small, then the older will say, no, I want to learn from the young person. And when the fiqh comes from the older person, the small person will follow him, فَاهْتَدِيَا. And they'll both be what? Guided. Alright, clear on this? And then he mentions a few other narrations of all. He talks about, he says, فَإِذَا كَانَ الْعِلْمُ فِي صِغَارِكُمْ سَفَهَ الصَّغِيرُ وَالْكَبِيرُ. طيب. He talks about a social issue and a social problem. And that is people not wanting to learn from people who are young. i.e. someone's pride, someone's ego. Everybody understand this? The older person is supposed to be who you learn from, and not the what? That's the nature of life. The elder is supposed to lead and guide. Everybody understand this? However, this can't be absolutely Islamically valid for several reasons. The first reason is Islam is not a religion that comes to support every single type of egotistic issue of pride. It's not supposed to be like that. In the society where I come from, men are made to dominate women, control women, abuse women, take over women. Islam doesn't necessarily come to what? Affirm that. Rather, it comes with the exact opposite. I will learn from another race where I come from or where you come from. You're not from this country? You don't have no ilm. You don't have no knowledge. What do you know? You're American. What knowledge could you what? Possibly have. Lo kuntu baqalan. He said, if I was a fruit seller or a vegetable seller, you wouldn't even want to talk to me. Sheikh, come eat. Bismillah. We have food. We have fruit. We have tea. If I was a normal, everyday person in Shan, what would they look at me like? Everybody understand this? Islam has not come to reaffirm and establish this Jahili concept. Everybody understand this? This what? This Jahili concept of it has to be high, low, noble, peasant, older, young, man, woman. So that's the first reason why that's wrong. Number two is among the Sahaba were those who were extremely young, and they taught, they read, they studied, they gave fatwa, and they spread their knowledge to all corners of the world. For him now, everybody understand it's not the Prophet himself. He is the one who made dua for Ibn Abbas. The Prophet himself is the one who spoke to the youth and encouraged the youth. And he only did that for them to do what? To teach. Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward. He then says here, so this is a problem that they're looking out for. Naam? They're looking out for this problem that the affairs of people be what? Topsy-turvy. And talid al-amatu rabbataha. Things will be in chaos. The young people have the knowledge. The old people don't want to study or listen or obey. Clear or not? Khairan. Then he goes on to say, وعلى كل فإن لفظة الصغير عامة تتناول الصغير حسا ومعنى وهذا الحكم ليس على إطلاقه في صغير السن فقد أفتى ودرس جماعة من الصحابة والتابعين في صغرهم بحضرة الأكابر كما قد قلنا لسنا نحن نجيب الشيء من الجيب. He says here that this ruling is not absolute. There are those who are young from the Sahaba and the Salaf who taught, they gave fatwas when they were what? Young. And the older companions, they didn't necessarily know about it, right? The older companions, they didn't necessarily acknowledge it. Sahih? No. He says what? Bihadratil akabir. In the presence of the elders. Fahim that? In the presence of the what? Of the elders. He says, Inna anna ha'ula yanduru wujudu mithlihim fi man ba'dahum. He says, but it's very rare after the Sahaba and after the Tabi'een. فَإِنْ وُجِدُوا وَعُلِمَ صَلَاحُهُمْ وصبر علمهم فظهرت رصانته ولم يوجد من الكبار أحد يؤخذ عنه العلوم التي معهم وأمنت الفتنة فليؤخذ عنهم. The author says, so if they are present and their righteousness is known and their knowledge has been proven to be strong and valid, and there aren't older people that have the knowledge that they have, and there's no fitna, he says what? فليؤخذ عنهم. Then the knowledge should be what? Taken from them. Moving forward, he says, وَلَيْسَ الْمُرَادِ أَنْ يُهْجَرَ عِلْمُ الْحَدَث مَعَ وُجُودِ الْأَكَابِرِ كَلَّا وإنما المراد إنزال الناس منازلهم فحق الحدث النابغ أن ينتفع به في المدارسة والمذاكرة والمباحثة أما أن يصدر للفتوى ويكتب إليه بالأسئلة فلا وألف لا لأن ذلك قتل له وفتنة وتغرير. Then the author rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, it doesn't mean that if someone is young, no knowledge is ever to be taken from them. It doesn't mean that. He says, but it means to give the people their due level, their due respect. He says, and the one who's young, he says, a nabigh, who's smart, he's like a genius, a prodigy. He says, people should benefit from him with regards to teaching, and with regards to review, and with regards to research. As far as him putting himself, or someone putting him forth for fatwa, and people writing him questions, he says, then no and no and no. Because this is a means of killing him. And it's a means of fatwa. And it's a means of deception. قال الفضيل ibn Iyad rahimahullah ta'ala. And before we move forward, the reason why we're paying so much attention on this, and the proper understanding is what? For two reasons. Number one, is the whole purpose of the class is to prevent you from falling into an obstacle. Number 2 is because many people, they hide their own problems and shortcomings and faults in this type of information. I'm jealous of you, Umar. I'm jealous of you. I envy you. You're twice as young as me. You are smarter than me, faster than me, sharper than me, better akhlaq than me. You don't have half of the problems that I have in my life. And you make my knowledge like what? Like nothing. You accomplish in a year what took me 10 years to learn. So therefore, I'm going to try to prevent you from shining and going forth in the name of كلام العلماء لا تتصدر لا. Everybody clear on this or not? So if I'm truly sincere and I love Brother Umar and I want good for him, and I'm living a pious life, I'm living a what? A real life. I'm not faking the funk, as we say. I'm actually implementing all of these different athar. I sit Umar down, Jazakallah khairan. Can you please do this class? Can you help out the brothers? Can you do this? Not to push you away, but to show you don't go too fast. Study, get some age, get some experience. Everybody understand this? But not to prevent him from teaching and mention these athar. Because I'm what? Because I'm jealous. That is the problem. Everybody clear on this or not? That's the what? That's the mushkila. Everybody understand this? Don't hide and don't disguise. Don't mask your what? Your jealousy. Let alone what we previously mentioned with regards to those who are older, being present, being what? Being present. Now, Umar, no one is teaching Abu Hurairah. Nobody. The masjid is dead. Huh, Sheikh Hassan? The masjid is what? It's tumbleweeds. No classes, nothing. Brother Umar comes along, and you ask him to teach a class. You beg him to teach a class. He says what? No, la Sheikh, I don't want to, make any fitna. I want to study. I'm young. La, please. No one is here. The people need a person to teach a class. So finally, Brother Umar teaches a class. And then people start coming to the class, admitting from the class. Then all of a sudden, I what? Pop up and say, he took my spot. But before he came along, I was where? Nowhere to be found. That also doesn't apply to this what? Everybody understand this? Last but not least, hypothetically speaking, that Umar was giving fatwas and teaching and putting himself out and making himself available because no one else was doing it. Should I blame Umar or should I commend him and encourage him as long as he's saying that which is accurate? هذا الضابط انتبهوا. He's yuhsin. He knows what he's talking about. He's doing a good job in conveying the speech of the ulama to the people. And no one else is doing it. So we have two options. Umar does it. Umar does what I can't do. And Umar does what I'm unwilling to do. All right? So I either let him do it and encourage him, as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, regarding the fard al-kifaya. He says that it's mandatory for you to be happy. He says, أن يفرح العاجز عن القيام بفرض الكفاية إذا قام به. يفرح يجب عليه أن يفرح هو. If you can't do the fard kifaya and someone else does it, he says, then you can't be jealous. No, he says it's obligatory for you to be what? You got to be happy that Umar is doing it. Alhamdulillah, he's doing it. That which I can't do or that which I'm what? Unwilling to do. All right, that's the first scenario. Or the second scenario is for me to stop him, hate on him, prevent him, warn from him, make him some type of excuse, and leave the people to be what? Bila shay. Leave them actually empty, leave them dull, ignorant, it doesn't matter. Everybody understand this? And at the same time, everything that I say and do is going to be what? عوائق الطلب. قال الفضيل, قال فلان, قال الشيخ برجس, قال كذا. But in actuality, that's not the really what? That isn't the case. فهمنا أم لا؟ خير إن شاء الله. So therefore, moving forward in the chapter, what's important is, to summarize the chapter, is that you should learn from those who are most experienced. You should learn from those who have time in, proven, they've been proven to have knowledge, to have ilm. Everybody understand this? Along with the next point as well. And that is learning from someone who's suitable for you. It doesn't make sense. It's cave for a beginner to go and say, sit and learn and learn from the oldest, eldest, most advanced sheikh possible. And he hasn't yet learned the what? The basics. To sit and benefit from the sheikh's akhlaq, no problem. To hear and pick up things, or for it to push him to learn Arabic faster, and the smaller books, that's what? La mushkil. But for him to spend, there's two classes going down after Maghrib in the Prophet's Masjid. The first class is by Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abad. He's the Kabir. And the second class is this Mauritanian Nahu teacher. He's not known. He's not the biggest, most famous, popular person, but he's actually teaching the book that you are on. He's teaching Ajurumiyah. and you don't know fi'l, fa'il, maf'ul, ja'a zaydin, ra'aytu zaydun. You don't know nahu. And it's only enough time to do what? One of the two. So who should he sit with, Adam sit with? Sheikh Abdul Muhsin or the nahu teacher? Bila shak. Because how's he going to benefit and learn from Sheikh Abdul Muhsin if he says ra'aytu zaydun? Everybody understand this? Literally, it's not a joke. Abu Sufyan al-Thawri, this is reality. He doesn't know the basics of the Arabic language. And we say spend every night, all 6 days out of the week, learning from the what? Akabir. Without actually studying and learning properly from the Fahimna. Everybody got this or not? So what's important is we're not against the principle at all. We're not against the principle in theory and in practice. But what we're against is what? Mixing. What we're against is what? Extremism. What we're against is hypocrisy and double standard. That's what we are staunchly what? Against. And we're also against taking someone's speech and giving it the same force as the speech of Allah and His Messenger. That's what we're against. Everybody understand this? خيرا إن شاء الله. العائق الخامس. تفضل يا أخي. الزبيدي مضبوط.
قال الزبيدي نقلا عن الذريعة في وظائف المتعلم يجب ألا يخوض في فن حتى يتناول من الفن الذي قبله على الترتيب
بلغته ويقضي
منه حاجته ازدحام العلم في السمع مضلة الفهم.
طيب جزاك الله خيرا. Moving forward to the next pitfall, number 5. عدم التدرج في العلم. Lack of taking progressive steps. Learning unsystematically. Jumping ahead, moving ahead. Trying to fly and soar, and your feathers are still bushy. Everybody understand this? You see an owl, when the owl is born, the owl comes out of the egg. In the nest, the baby owl looks nothing like the what? The mother owl. Young geese don't look like the what? They look totally different. The feathers are different. The color is different. Trying to fly and soar, and you're still barely what? Blind in the nest. Everybody understand this? Take your time, step by step. Progressive. Step by step. You have to walk before you run, before you jump, before you leap. Everybody understand this? You have to crawl before you walk. Everybody clear on this or not? Take your time, take steps. That's number 5. He says there's no alim whoever differs on this principle. This is an absolute law right here. There's no reversal of this law. There's no what? Reversal of this one. Everybody understand this? There's no detail with regards to this. You have to take knowledge in the proper what? Proper steps. And that is because it is the successful way of taking knowledge and properly understanding this knowledge. Everybody understand this? And then the author here in this chapter, he begins by quoting from the Quran al-Kareem. First, before, he didn't do that in the last chapter. Here he does. And he mentions 2 ayats from the Quran. First and foremost, Allah says, وَقُرْآنًا فَرَقْنَاهُ لِتَقْرَأَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى مُكْثٍ وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. Allah says, and this is a Quran, a book to be recited. فَرَقْنَاهُ. We have sent it down in different parts, different categories. لِتَقْرَأَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى مُكْثٍ. For you, O Muhammad, to recite it to the people in a time period, a space of time. وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. And we, Allah says, surely we have sent down this book in a perfect and thorough manner. The second ayah, Allah says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. The pagans of Mecca say, Quraysh, they say, لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ عَلَيْهِ الْقُرْآنُ جُمْلَةً وَاحِدَةً. Why can't this Quran be sent down all at once? Why does Muhammad have to bring us pieces and bits here and there? This ayah, this verse. Give it to us all at once. كَذَلِكَ نُثَبِّتُ. Allah says, كَذَلِكَ. He says, Naam, intentionally. This is what we intend to do. And this is what we have done this purposely. لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. For the purpose of your heart being bolstered and solidified. وَرَتَّلْنَاهُ تَرْتِيلًا. We've given to you in this beautiful way of recitation. خَيْرًا inshallah. Then he quotes from Az-Zabidi, quoting from another book, Al-Dhari'ah, speaking about learners. في وظائف المتعلم. He says you can't talk about a subject and speak about a subject and debate about a subject until you've taken the previous subject. على الترتيب. He says in order. In what? In order. طيب. He says وَيَقْضِي مِنْهُ حَاجَتَهُ, and become full. So satisfy yourself. You can't move on to the main course meal until you had the what? Soup and the salad. And you had a good amount of the soup and salad. Then you do what? Move on to the main course. Don't jump. He says يَقْضِي مِنْهُ حَاجَتَهُ. Just enough. I don't want to be bloated, but I definitely ate the what? The soup and the salad. Everybody understand this? He says وَيَقْضِي مِنْهُ حَاجَتَهُ. Not just I opened up the book, I studied Nahu for a week. No. I actually successfully what? Took in the what? Of Nahu, of Mustalah, of Usul al-Tafsir. Then you move on to the next book or the next field. He says here, فَازْدِحَامُ الْعِلْمِ فِي السَّمْعِ. He says mixing, knowledge being crowded in your head is a way of you misunderstanding. It's a way of you what? Misunderstanding. وَعَلَى هَذَا قَالَ تَعَالَى. طيب, Allah Azza wa Jal also said regarding this, الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. Allah says, the people whom we have given the scripture, يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. They recite it properly, as it's deserving to be recited. He says this means they don't go to one science or one field, حَتَّى يُحْكِمُوهُ, until they perfect it and master it. عِلْمًا وَعَمَلًا. Theoretically and practically. They learn it properly and they understand it and they implement it. What's the purpose of you coming to my class and asking, and you didn't take my advice that I gave you last class? You didn't take the advice I gave you last week. There's no purpose in you coming and learning something else until you take what I've already previously given you. He says here, so therefore it's mandatory for the student of knowledge, Adam. He says it's mandatory for the student of knowledge أن يقدم الأهم فالأهم. He says to give the most important before the important. Listen carefully. Is studying this book on hadith important? We say what? Yes. But there's another hadith before it which is more important. And it doesn't mean that the second book is of no what? Importance. Don't what? Mix and jumble. Everybody says it's muhim jiddan to learn this. But not before this. Or you can't properly learn that until you understand this. He then says, وَكَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ مُنِعُ. He says عَلَى التَّرْتِيب. He says in order. وَكَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ مُنِعُوا الْوُصُولِ لِتَرْكِهِمْ الْوُصُولِ. He says, and there are many people who've lost out. They didn't reach the finish line because of this what? This point. They didn't study systematically, in order. Jumping, class to class, book to book, subject to subject, this one, that one, this one, this one, this one, that one. Listen carefully. He says, what تَدَرُّجُ يَكُونُ. Pay attention. He says here, there are two ways of progression. First is in, or pertaining to the different sciences. Usul al-fiqh, usul al-tafsir, the sciences. And secondly is progression inside of one science. Everybody understand this? Ba'ath al-hadith is not like a tadhkira. Everybody clear on this? Sharh ila al-Tirmidhi is not like what? Nukhbat al-fikr. And it's all pertaining to ilm al-hadith. But there are books, teachers, classes that go in what? Order. Everybody understand this? There's colors to your belt. A white belt, yellow belt, green belt is not like a what? Black belt, 3rd degree black. It's levels. There are levels. You can't jump. You get hurt. You get what? You get hurt. Jumping in with the wrong belt color. You get what? Seriously hurt. Tayyib. He says here, وَكِلَا الْأَمْرَيْنِ يَخْضَعُ لِاجْتِهَادِ الْمُعَلِّمِ وَطَبِيعَةِ الْمَكَانِ. Listen carefully once more. He says in both of these things, they go back to what? The view of the teacher. The teacher is to make that what? Decision. There is no one book that you have to start off with or you can't jump and skip. That goes back to the muallim. Number 2, it also goes back to the location. To the what? To location. Do you have the ability to stay here for 20 years? Or you only stay here for 5 years? He takes a reality and what's needed. Everybody understand this? We'll say need and we'll say want. Everybody clear this or not? And this goes back to the concept of what? Samid? Formlessness. There is no one set what? Formless. Everybody clear this or not? Has to be what? Depending on the what? The time, the place, the student, the situation. But it's a general rule that does apply. But the general rule remains what? General. And we have to switch the rule, change the rule, adjust the rule, augment the rule. That is what you what? Must do. Everybody understand this? I can't repeat, I can't say in my words how important this principle is. There are general theoretical rules, but they are to be adjusted, bent, and some of them ignored and disobeyed if the situation what? Necessitates that. Everybody clear on this? Moving forward. The author then goes on to speak on this point. He says, روى ابن المديني عن عبد الوهاب بن همام بن جريج قال أتيت عطاء وأنا أريد هذا الشأن وعنده عبد الله بن عبيد بن عمير فقال لي ابن عمير قرأت القرآن قلت لا فاذهب فاقرأ ثم اطلب العلم فذهبت فغبرت زمانا حتى قرأت القرآن ثم جئت عطاء وعنده عبد الله فقال قرأت الفريضة قلت لا قال تعلم الفريضة ثم اطلب العلم إلى آخر كلامه رحمه الله تعالى. And author he mentions many different stories and narrations regarding this. Let's move on to the next obstacle, whereas this takes a lot of time in discussing this. The Quran, the Kitab of Allah, understanding it, Nahu, Arabic language, and all of those things have been explained in detail in other classes. What books to start off with, what is the book list, etc. Khairan, inshallah. Ibn al-Jawzi says, وَقَدْ أُلِمَ قِسَرُ الْعُمُرِ وَكَثْرَةُ الْعِلْمِ. Listen to this, Jim. He says, it's well known how short life is. And it's well known how abundant knowledge is. Everybody understand this? There's two bitter realities. Knowledge is too much. Life is too short. He says, فَيَبْدَأ أي الطالب بالقرآن وحفظه وينظر في تفسيره نظرا متوسطا لا يخفى عليك بذلك منه شيء. Start off memorizing the Quran, reading it, memorizing it, and looking, having a basic understanding of tafsir. Balanced, in the middle. He says none of that is supposed to be hidden from you. So if we close the laptop right now, and we open up the Mus'haf al-Sharif, and say, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ, and I asked you, what does this mean? What does this apply to? وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا عَبَسَ وَتَوَلَّى, and made a test for everybody in this room on just Juz Amma. Will we all pass? Will we all pass the general things, not the specific aqwal ibn Abbas, general? What's meant by alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil? What tini, what zaytun? How does that apply? What's the general meaning? Is it Mekki, Madani? If I ask you, what are the Madani surahs in Juz Amma? Who can answer the question? Ma hiya surah al-Makki fi Juz Amma? Al-Madani, afwan. What are the Madani surahs in Juz Amma? Who knows? Raise your hand if you know the Madani surahs in Juz Amma. The whole Juz Amma Makki. Allahu Akbar. Sheikh Jama Allahu Shamlak. طيب, هذا هو السؤال. That's the question. Are there any Madani surahs in Juz Amma? What are they? Surah An-Nasr, إذا جاء نصر الله, or what else? That's it? Ma'awwadatain in Medina or Mecca? Medina. What else? You agree with that, Samir? It's Madani. طيب. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها أين نزلت؟ أو متى نزلت؟ Any other surahs Madaniyah? Make that your project tonight. Find out the Madani surahs in Juz Amma. Point explained or not? And this is just what? Juz Amma. Khair, inshallah. Point proven or not, Adam? طيب. Moving forward. That's a whole long class in itself on the specifics of the manhajiyah. What books, what teachers, where to go. What we're learning right now is one thing and one thing only, is to avoid recklessness in your studies. To avoid what? Recklessness in your what? Studies. And once more, do not disguise your jealousy and your envy or your hatred of a sheikh or teacher with this point. Don't sit with him because you have to study this in order. But all his friends, who do they sit with? What do they learn? Ala tartib wala ashwa'iyya. Everybody understand this? So don't do that as well. Khairan, inshallah. He mentions many books. Ajrumiyya, Mukhtasar al-Dalil, Bulugh al-Maram. We don't have the time to get into that right now. That's a class. That's a lecture series in itself. What books to actually study. Huh? Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many of them we've mentioned already. What's important is tonight, is that not to fall into this obstacle or this pitfall, which is adamu tadarruj. Seek knowledge in systematic order. And as we clearly read, he said, وَكِيلَ الْأَمْرَيْنِ يَخْضَعُ لِاجْتِهَادِ الْمُعَلِّمِ. Both of those things go back to the view and the opinion of the teacher, i.e., who is to make the decision for you what books to start off with? Your teacher. So before we say what book should I study first, we say get a what? Teacher first. That's the most important thing. Wallah, if we didn't leave with any other fa'idah except for that, that will be sufficient. You need a teacher to help you make decisions. And sometimes, not all of the time, but sometimes you need a teacher to make the decision for you. And at the beginner, we said what? The only thing he's asked to do in the beginning is to what? No. Pay attention to the nothing more. In the beginning, mimic the teacher. Take what the teacher gives you. And the what? In the beginning, as you grow older, you mature, you grow stronger, different story. You grow really, really strong and mature, then asking and following and mimicking has to be what? No. Thrown out of the what? Out of the window. There is no more blind mimicking anymore. Abadan. Now there's reading and researching and debating. Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this or not? Just like the example of the bird that's mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet. How many hadiths are there on birds? How many ayats Allah talks about birds in the Quran? Many ayats. And there's a wisdom behind that. The bird, the baby bird gets the what? The worm where? In the nest. Does the bird ask, where's the worm from? I want a bigger worm, a fatter worm. I want a different piece of meat from this animal that you hunted. The baby bird does what? Opens its mouth. Period. But it doesn't keep its mouth open and take the worm what? Forever. And when it learns to hunt and fly, it discards its what? Nest and mother. And that's another extremism. Is to continue to be a muqallid for the rest of your life. Continue to just ask the sheikh for the what? The rest of your life. And that's respecting the scholars and listening to the scholars. No, it does not mean that. What's the purpose of you studying if you're just going to keep being a follower and an asker for the rest of your life? Everybody understand this? Rather, we would say this, only Allah knows what the sheikh may think about you deep down inside. He says, I've been teaching him all of these years. He's been in this country for all of these years. And he comes and he knocks on my door and says, Ya Sheikh, عندنا أسئلة. تفضل. He says, Ya Sheikh, ما حكم الوضوء بعد التبول? What is the ruling on making wudu after one uses the restroom? Do you think the Sheikh really respects you? And these are the questions that you ask him? And you've been studying for 6-7 years? This is a real life serious question. Do you think he honestly respects you in his heart? Secondly is, what do you think about Saudi Arabia? What do you think? How do you think they look at you? Your country or your people? How much millions, if not billions, Kuwait, how much money Sheikh Hassan spent on the education for brothers and sisters from Canada, UK, and America to go there and learn? 10 years, 20 years, they sit back and say, how many masjids, how many Marrakech centers, how many books, how much major things have you guys done with all that we spent and invested on you? And it's nothing but we make umrah, Sheikh, we have a question on this and on that. You don't think that that's a means of them holding you in contempt? You don't think they're going to scorn you? You think they're going to want to take more students? What have you done with what we're giving you? Everybody understand this? So you have to be very mindful of this. You start off as a beginner, asking, mimicking, not thinking. As a beginner. Then as you gradually what? Grow. You must have the intention of becoming independent. Everybody understand this? And not just that, if you have a real teacher, one day defeating your teacher what? In a debate. And if you don't have that idea in your head, then you're wasting your what? You're wasting your time. With me at least. That should be one of your ideas, Simon. One day I'm going to get what? I'm going to get them really, really good. And the day that you can land a jab, awali, and a good clean punch, I say what? Khalas. You're graduated. You won the debate. You beat me in the debate. Don't call me no more. Leave me alone. I'm no longer your teacher. For him now? Everybody understand this? Everybody understand this or not? And that's the true what? Ilm. That's the true knowledge right there. Moving forward to the next obstacle. العائق السادس. تفضلي. بسم الله. بالذنب يعلمه. انتبه الآن. قال إني لا أحسب أن الرجل ينسى العلم قد علمه بالذنب يعمله. هذا خطأ مطبعي. That's a mistake. صحيح. Fix that. It's supposed to be يعمله أو يعمله and not يعلمه. طيب. Number what? The next one is 6. الغرور والعجب والكبر. Says obstacle number 6. Let's see what it says here in the translation. Let's see how they word it. Take some from the translation as well. And yesterday, I don't want a couple brothers or sisters to think or take from the points or the blunders that we pointed out by the translator that it's no good in the translation. We don't want you to think that. Okay? Whoever the translator is, whoever he is, obviously he put forth some type of effort in putting out the book. And I personally have benefited from the effort, let alone other people. So that doesn't mean that. They were saying that the translation is totally useless, because that's also extremism. Everybody understand this? And we are to be just even if someone is unjust against us. Even if someone is unjust to us, we're still commanded to be what? Just to them. Allah says what? Shana'anu? Be just. Even if someone who is your enemy. Khairan inshallah. Even if someone is unjust with you. Not saying that the translator is. I don't know the translator. Everybody understand this? We're just proving a point. Khairan inshallah. And also being just and giving someone due respect does not mean that you turn a blind eye from something which is a clear error. Or just total sloppiness. There's a what? A balance. There's a what? There's a divine balance. The 6th obstacle. Conceitedness, vanity, and arrogance. Disobeying Allah the Exalted is an obstacle that inhibits attaining Islamic knowledge, because Islamic knowledge is the light of Allah that is placed in the hearts of whomever He wills from His servants, and light and darkness cannot be combined in a heart. Is that correct? Sam, توافق على هذا؟ على إطلاقه لا يمكن اجتماع نور وظلمة في قلب واحد في آن واحد. توافق على هذا؟ لا توافق. ليش؟ استدل من الكتاب العزيز على خطأ هذا الشيء. تفضل. يخرجهم. طيب شيء أصرح من هذا. طيب في شيء أصرح من هذا. لا. We only said Quran brother, not Hadith. We said what? Quran, not Hadith. طيب. Or what else? Yalla. If you can't bring me 10 verses from the Quran to prove something is wrong, then you what? طيب. Something is strong or clear. And which it's mentioned that they did this and they also what? Did that. كمل. لا عفى الله. عسى الله أن أيوة Surah Tawbah. Allah says they mixed what? وآخر سيئا. So can you absolutely say that it can't be darkness and light in someone's heart at the same time? Can you say, is that valid to say that? You love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you love the messenger, you love Islam, and you also have a sin that you perform. Like we said the other night, the drunkard in Yemen. I honestly believe that he was sincere. He said, I love Allah. The hadith about the man who was what? Flogged. And they cursed him. ما أكثر ما جيء بفلان. He says, may Allah curse this drunkard. We keep beating him and beating him, he keeps drinking. The Prophet ﷺ said what? So that statement absolutely is not what? Necessarily correct, 100%. You understand this? You can be disobedient to Allah on one thing, and love Allah and be righteous and pious and a what? Another thing. Now, of course, you have to work on getting rid of that. But we're trying to state the facts. Everybody clear on this or not? So it says here that there is conceitedness, vanity, and arrogance. The reason why the author is even mentioning this is to show you that before we start talking about technical knowledge, being disobedient to Allah, from that is being vain, being conceited, and being arrogant. Everybody understand this? So any act of disobedience is going to go against the general concept of seeking ilm. Any act of disobedience is considered to be an obstacle. هذا هو المقصود. We got this? That's the what? That's the point. But seeking knowledge oftentimes is directly connected to this one. Because when you seek knowledge, your status rises. People come to you, offer you things. They respect you, they fear you, they have awe of you, they want to be around you. As you said, I want to learn the hot stuff. You want to quote, you want to spit, call, dhakar. You learn Arabic, you come home from Medina, the first summer that you come home from Medina, the first summer, you have the Kuwaiti thobe, the fresh white kufi, you have the pins in your pocket, you have the nur of Medina shining on you. Everybody understand this? You could be afflicted with some type of pride and arrogance and conceit. You start looking down upon other people. The sheikh at the masjid, at the duksi who taught you the Quran, you learn Quran from Hudayfi. You come back and say, he was giving us a khata all of that time. I'm better than you. You start challenging people, looking down upon people. We making an assumption, Hassan? It could happen to you. So therefore, this is not only disobedience to Allah, but it's also a major hindrance in seeking ilm. And that is because if you're conceited, if you're vain, and if you're arrogant, it will prevent you from taking from someone who is lower than you, younger than you, a different race, a different sex, a different gender. Everybody understand this? I don't need to learn anything from Arabs. I learn from Arabs for. I'm not learning nothing from nobody who's black. I'm not learning from somebody who's not Somali. I'm not learning from somebody, he's not Guyanese. I can't learn anything from him. Well, how could that? Because of my what? My pride, my arrogance, my conceit. Everybody understand this? And that's why many of the Salaf, they would say, لا يمل الرجل حتى يأخذ عمن هو فوقه وعمن هو مثله وعمن هو دونه. He says you can't excel until you take from those who are above you, those who are equal, and those who are beneath you. I.e., إن الحكمة ضالة المؤمن. Wisdom is the lost possession of the believer. Wherever you find your lost possession, you're supposed to do what? Take it. No discrimination when it comes to the fa'idah. Everybody understand this? But pride prevents a person from what? Doing that. So that's what's meant here of this obstacle. Let alone the concept of ilm not benefiting you. You're stuck up. You think that you know everything. You think you have everything. How has the knowledge actually benefited you? And one of the most important aspects of knowledge is khashyatullah, is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody clear this or not? So that's what's meant by this what? By this obstacle. Everybody understand? هذا هو المقصود. That's what's meant by this obstacle. We're clear this or not? طيب. From the violations of this obstacle, or this rule, this law, or the misunderstandings of it, is what, Samir, if Umar, going back to Umar, if you actually have knowledge, and someone asks you a question, and you give them the answer, and you don't say, I don't know, or let me see, let me find out, or Brother Fulan says, or Sheikh Fulan says, then you automatically stamp to have what? He's conceited. Look, he just asked to answer the question by himself. Or he's confident. He's confident that what Allah gave him. He's learned, he's studied. He doesn't walk around with his head down, and he's not insecure. He speaks with confidence, so it automatically means he's what? Or conceited or stuck up. Everybody understand this? Or Umar was in Medina for 10 years, 15 years. He studied with the sheikh that we're studying with now when we were still Christian in America. And if we don't see him at the sheikh's house when we're there, then he's not sitting with the sheikh because he's conceited, arrogant, and stuck up. Just like the previous obstacle. That is incorrect. And most importantly, do not focus on pointing a laser beam at someone's chest. You worry about your what? Yourself. And not deeming someone else to be. How do you know who someone is? Everybody understand this? So be mindful of this. For him that, everybody got this? So there is a hindrance of you seeking knowledge with arrogance, conceitedness, and pride, conceit, with Allah first and foremost. Then, with regards to what? Your teachers, as we explained, let alone with your colleagues and your peers. Everybody understand this or not? And one of the greatest problems in ilm is hasad and tanafus, is jealousy and envy and competition, rivalry. It's well known. So do not disguise your bad feelings in the name of Sheikh Abdul Salam Burgess. Don't do that. Don't what? Don't do that. If your brother is better than you, say MashaAllah alayhi. Allahumma barak alayhi. La quwwata illa billah. Alhamdulillah, be proud that your brother is better than you, or your sister is better than you. Aspire to be like her, Don't hate. Don't be jealous. And most importantly, if you are jealous and if you do have hate, then try your best to fight it, and don't Islamify your jealousy. Don't cover and mask your envy in the name of the kalam of the ulama or the kalam of the salaf. That's dirty. That's foul. When you try to legitimize your evil. Everybody understand this? And that's why Shaykh al-Islam and others, they've been quoted to have said, إِنَّ الْحَسَدْ فِي كُلِّ جَسَدٍ. He said that there's a type of envy in every person, one level or another. Some are more worse than others. He's quoted, وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ فِيمَا يُحْكَى عَنْهُ. It says, فَالْكَرِيمُ يُخْفِيهِ وَاللَّئِيمُ يُبْدِيهِ. So the noble person is the one who fights it, who hides it, who stifles it. He prays. He asks Allah to remove it from his heart. He fights himself to go up to his brother, shake his hand, and give him a hug and a smile, even though it's killing him inside. And he says, and the wretched, la'im, is the one who manifests his jealousy. Outwardly, publicly, openly, or even worse than that is to do what with the jealousy? قال الفضيل بن إياض. Man, Fudayl ibn Iyad said this. See, he's arrogant and he's conceited. And he's only trying to what? Fulfill his own envy and jealousy. Everybody understand it? So don't do that. Ask Allah to remove the jealousy and the envy that you have in your heart. Do not Islamify those evil, negative, impulsive feelings that you may have. Moving forward, the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he then says that this is a sin. And then he goes on to speak about the kalam of the ulama regarding sins, which some of them we've already meant. He says here, اقرأي وإن أقبح. طيب. He says, and the worst thing that the student of knowledge can perform of sin, all sins are bad. All of them are filthy and repulsive and repugnant. But the worst of them, he says, التكبر والتعاظم والغرور. He says, is pride and arrogance and deception. You being tricked and duped, thinking that you have something that you really honestly do not have. He says that's the ugliest stain. بعدين فيزدري هذا. He says here, so he looks down on this one. He puts himself above that one. يَتَبَخْتَرُ فِي الْمَشِي. He walks and clicks his heels in a certain type of way. يَتَشَدَّقُ فِي الْكَلَامِ. Speaking in a certain type of way. إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ. And all the types of attributes of عُجْبِ النَّفْس, self-amazement, which Allah Azza wa Jalla has clearly prohibited. وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Allah says, don't walk happily in the earth, in the land. Don't walk happily in the land. I.e., happiness of pride and arrogance. Because Allah loveth not kulla mukhtalin fakhurin. Allah doesn't love these types of people. Those who are stuck up and conceited. Those who are full of themselves. Those who think that they're above others. وقال تعالى. Allah Azza wa Jalla also says in the Quran Kareem, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ. That is the abode of the hereafter. نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا. Which will give it to those who don't want to be above others in this land, nor corruption and evil. And the good outcome was for the pious. Then he mentions the hadith Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, which the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam says that once there was a man, يَمْشِي فِي حُلَّةٍ. He was walking with a mantle on, a robe, a cloak. تُعْجِبُهُ نَفْسُهُ. He was really feeling himself. He was really full of himself. The beauty and the handsomeness of himself with this piece of clothing on. مُرَجَّلٌ رَأْسُهُ. His hair was combed. His hair was done, looking really, really nice, dapper. Naam. يَخْتَالُ فِي مَشْيَتِهِ. And he was walking and bipping and bopping in a certain way, full of himself. إِذْ خَسَفَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. And all of a sudden, Allah caused the earth to swallow him up. فَهُوَ يَتَجَلْجَلُ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. And therefore he'll be in this garment, this mantle, wrapped up, enshrouded and enveloped, punished to the day of judgment. ماذا نستفيد من هذا الحديث؟ فائدة عقدية. نعم، فائدة عقدية. Student of knowledge has to have the ability to deduce a benefit from any hadith. أحسنت. فيه إثبات عذاب القبر. This hadith affirms the punishment of the grave. How is that? ما وجه هذا؟ I sent. It says he'll be punished until the day of judgment. When did this man live? What year did he die? We don't know. But he's dead. And more importantly, شوف سبحان الله أدق من هذا قال إذ خسف الله به يعني الأرض. Allah caused the earth to swallow him. فهو يتجلجل في الأرض. In the earth. Buried in your grave, you're in your what? You're in the dirt. That's how the dead. So this hadith affirms the punishment of the grave. Everybody understand how it works? When you have the necessary skills, you can take any hadith and do what? Deduce and extract. Most valuable tool that you can learn as a student of hadith is al-istinbat wal-istikhraj. And as I said before, this is one of the most valuable things that I learned in the college of hadith. Many, many other valuable skills, but perhaps that was one of the most valuable things that I took, is the skill of deduction, the skill of extracting. And the more you learn, the more talented, the more skilled, the longer you study, the stronger your language is, the more sharh you read, explanation, the stronger you what can be in this. Everybody understand this? And when the people say only one benefit from the hadith, you can take what? 20 fa'idah from the hadith. You can see what the average person what? Can't see. خيرا إن شاء الله. قال ابن الجوزي رحمه الله أفضل الأشياء التزيد من العلم فإنه من اقتصر على ما يعلمه فظن كاف استبد برأيه فصار تعظيمه لنفسه مانعا من الاستفادة. قال غير أن اقتصار الرجل على علمه إذا مازج نوع رؤية للنفس حبس عن إدراك الصواب نعوذ بالله من ذلك. He says here, listen carefully, and this is the last thing we're going to mention from this chapter before we move forward. He said the best thing to get more of is knowledge. The best thing for him to get more of is what? Knowledge. That's the best thing that you can ask and get more of is ilm. Because the one who suffices himself with that which he knows, he thinks that it's enough, istabadda bira'yihi. He'll become pig-headed. Okay? He'll become stubborn. He'll think that he knows it all and he has it all in his head. By not continuing to do what? To study. That's also from the kalam of the ulama. Is not to just drop out, not to just come home, but to continue to do what? Study. So I'll take that what? As well. Akhi, when's the last time you've been overseas and studied? I ask you. You were there in Yemen for a year or 2 years, or Egypt. You've been in Canada for the last 15 years. When is the last time you've been back to study? When is the last time you took study leave from your imam position in your masjid? What would you say? Shaykh Hassan, what would he say? هل أخذ بكلام العلماء? Everybody understand? Tanaqud, you only take some things and leave off what? Everybody clear this or not? It's not to stop, to continue to do what? To study, continue to progress, keep learning, keep studying. Not just I've graduated and then that's it. No, continue to study. He says here, because if you don't, that's what happens. فَصَارَ تَعْظِيمُهُ لِنَفْسِهِ مَانِعًا مِنَ الْإِسْتِفَادَةِ. He says, and if he exalts himself, he pumps and puffs himself up, it will prevent him from benefiting. He says, but if a person feels that he's showing off or for other than Allah, then he should suffice himself for what he has learned. In other words, don't make the punishment more on yourself. Everybody understand this? If you know that you're not doing it properly. Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward to the next a'iq, number 7. You can go back to the other book, inshallah ta'ala. Those who wish to read more. Tayyib, explaining this in detail. The problem of pride, conceit, and arrogance. And what we have explained, bid'an ta'ala, is more than enough. Inshallah ta'ala, liman wafaqahu Allah wa arada bihi khayran. Tayyib. Looking down, I'm looking for a down, page down button. I don't see one. Tayyib. Tfaddali. Tayyib. He says here, number 7. Number 7. Isti'jal al-thamar. Literal translation is hastening the fruits. Hastening the blooming and the blossoming of the flower. I.e. Adam what? Rushing. Rushing. Wanting to get the flashy, hot stuff too soon, too quick. without putting in the necessary work and sacrifice to get the flashy hot stuff, the fancy moves. Rushing. He says some students of knowledge, they think that knowledge, he says, luqmatun sa'iga. Literal translation, they think that knowledge is just what? He says, up for grabs. He says some students of knowledge think that knowledge is up for grabs or a significant portion that will immediately produce. Type says here, yani, and whose benefits will quickly become clear. It's not necessarily the most accurate translation, let alone how it takes away the oomph and the power of the Arabic. It would have been better here to translate this literal, word for word. The literal translation is luqmatun sa'iga, a simple swallow, a quick bite to eat. People think that knowledge is a what? A simple bite, a snack-sized candy bar. Just take the whole thing, put it in your mouth, bite it, eat it, swallow it, one bite. Everybody understand this? A quick, simple meal, quick, simple bite. Aw jar'atun adhba. He says, or a cup of fresh water, sweet water, spring water. You think you just can drink it, huh? They think knowledge is simple and easy and sweet, huh? It's just what? Bismillah. Khalas. Alim. Talib ilm. Huh? No. He says here, and they think that the fruits will just come out and bloom and blossom overnight. La. He says, فَيُمَرْ فِي قِرَارَةِ نَفْسِهِ أنه بعد مضي سنة أو أكثر أو أقل من عمره في الطلب سيصبح عالما جهبذا لا يدرك شأوه ولا يشق غبار أو غباره. He says, so the person thinks and feels mistakenly that after a year or a couple of years or less than a year, a person will be this master scholar, this alim, jahbid, this black belt. After he was in the dojo for what? A year and 6 months. We've been studying with you, Sheikh. We studied with you for a year and 6 months. We want an evaluation, ya Sheikh. We want a report card, ya Sheikh. We want you to tell us about where we are, ya Sheikh. And you only been studying with me for how long? A year and 6 months. What is that? Everybody understand this? A year and 6 months is nothing. Everybody understand this? It's nothing. Alhamdulillah for consistency of a year and 6 months. But in actuality, it's what? You still with a white belt and a yellow belt. Huh? You want to break a board. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't what? Doesn't work like that. He says they think that they're going to become this master scholar overnight, just like that. وَهَذِهِ نَظْرَةٌ خَاطِئَةٌ وَتَصَوُّرٌ فَاسِدٌ وَأَمَلٌ كَاسِدٌ أَضْرَارُهُ بَخِيمَةٌ وَمَفَاسِدُ عَظِيمَةٌ إِذْ يُفْضِي بِصَاحِبِهِ إِلَى مَا لَا تُحْمَدُ عُقْبَاهُ مِنَ الْقَوْلِ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَالثِّقَةِ عَلَى الْعَمْيَاءِ بِالنَّفْسِ وَحُبِّ الْعُلُوِّ وَالتَّصَدُّرِ وينتهي مطافه بين هذه الأشياء إلى هجر الانتساب للعلم وأهله. He says, and this is a grave mistake and a totally false conceptualization, and it's lost hope. The harms of this are quite severe, and the problems that ensue from this way of thinking are very formidable. It would lead a person to that which is totally blameworthy. It's not a praiseworthy outcome. Speaking about Allah without the proper knowledge, blind trust of yourself, loving to be above and in front, and at the end, a person not ascribing himself to knowledge and his people. وقد أصاب المأموم عندما قال متهمكا بهذا الضرب من الطلبة يطلب أحدهم الحديث 3 أيام ثم يقول أنا من أهل الحديث. He says, in the leader, Al-Ma'mun, at the time of the Muslims, many years ago, he said, speaking about some students of knowledge, he says, some of them seek knowledge for 3 days. And then they say, I'm what? I'm Ahl al-Hadith. Everybody understand this? For 3 days, a month, a year, 5 years, 3 years, and that's it. No, it's longer than that. Knowledge is a long road that you must tread. You must be patient upon, bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the first thing that you need for this road, ya akhi, the necessary shoes are not sneakers, as we say in America, or running shoes, or trainers. No, not boots. This is what Abdullah ibn Umar said. He says, na'layni min hadid, iron sandals. You need a pair of iron sandals. You need a lot of sabr. You need to stifle your nafs, bear down, and get ready for a long, tiresome path. And if you're not willing to do that, you're unwilling to do that, then you're unsuited for seeking knowledge. If you think it comes overnight. Certain things, alhamdulillah, you can learn in a day, yes. You feel a certain way, you're inspired, you become enlightened. You attribute yourself to the talabat al-ilm, no doubt. I want to be a student of knowledge. Inshallah, I am a student of knowledge, no doubt. You don't need 10 years for that. But to get a good amount of knowledge, to be strong, to be grounded, and also to get past that first initial year of what? That thinking, that first year after Medina. You quote a couple masail, qala fulan, I memorized that Jurumiyya, you come back, start testing people. Udhkur kada, udhkur aqsam kada, al-ibadah, masaha, a couple masail, huna wa hunak. You have to get what? Past that stage. And then what? Past that stage. Everybody understand this? Until you really have put some years in. Everybody clear this or not? And then you can really start benefiting from your hard work. Naam, inshallah ta'ala. Khairan, inshallah. والناظر إلى حال السلف يرى عجبا من صبرهم على مرارة التحصيل وطول الجادة لا يفترون ولا يتقاعسون ولا يستكبرون شعارهم العلم من المهدي إلى اللحد العلم من المحبرة إلى المقبرة. طيب. ثم أثرك يا عمر. He says, you be quite amazed when you read the kalam of the Salaf al-Salih, how they were patient upon the bitterness of seeking knowledge, the harshness of seeking knowledge, the sacrifices of seeking knowledge. We all know that Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he was asked, إِلَى مَتَى يَطْلُبُ الرَّجُلُ الْحَدِيثِ. He says, when should a man stop seeking hadith? And others as well, فيما يحكى عنهم, is quoted that they said, إلى أن تصب محبرته على قبره. He says he should stop seeking knowledge. When? When should he stop seeking hadith? When his ink pot is what? Poured on his grave. Everybody understand this? As if, Allahu Alam, Ahl hadith, perhaps, it was min him from their custom to do what? When someone died, to do what? Pour the ink on someone's grave. That's all we're going to say for now. I'll tell you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's necessarily bad to pour something on someone's what? Grave. Pour it down on the ground, Osman. Everybody clear or not? We understand that? Allahu Alam. Don't be hasty and say you can't do that. Astaghfirullah, the brothers, the janazah. Allahu Alam, that's all we're going to say. Man alimahu alima, wa man jahilahu, jahilahu. Al-Muhim, he says that's when you should stop seeking hadith, when your friends are at your funeral. It's no more, it's over. Then the hadith trip is done, it's over. Wa'bud rabbaka until death and certainty comes to you. Khairan inshallah. Also, another very important point is with regards to hastening the bloom or the blossom. It's a very widespread problem among many students. I just can't get it. I've been studying hadith and I still don't understand it. I still can't understand this. I still can't get this lugha principle. Because you haven't been studying long enough. You're frustrated, you're upset, you're tired. Alhamdulillah, that's a good thing. And I would tell you that's the beginning of your path when you feel frustrated. When you feel frustrated, that's what? You've now begun the beginning. Everybody understand this? You now what? You've begun your beginning. Everybody understand this or not before? When you're frustrated and ready to give up. That's the beginning of the enlightenment. When you're working out, your workout begins when it starts what? Starts hurting. They asked Muhammad Ali, how many sit-ups do you do a day? Anyone who's ever watched boxing knows Muhammad Ali could take punches and punches and punches and punches. His defense was impeccable. Whether he slipped the punch, ducked the punch, bobbed, weaved, or whether he actually what? Took it. His chin and his body. There's no question about that. They asked him, how many sit-ups do you do a day? He says, I don't start counting until it begins to hurt. When my stomach is burning, ripping me apart, that's when I start what? Counting for my regiment. 200, 300, whatever the case may be. So how many sit-ups did he do before it start what? Hurting. Allahu Alam. So you don't start your actual training until you're ready to give up. You become frustrated. That's when it's officially what? Begun. For him to have that, when should you stop reading? You can't say that. You know that you start reading when you start getting tired. Your eyes burn. Now that's the time to do what now? Push it. Because you're actually now working out now. For real. When you feel tired and exhausted. Everybody understand this or not? So with that being said, don't give up. Knowledge is not a simple piece, a simple cup. And most importantly, brothers and sisters, who said that there was a time limit on your knowledge? Who said that? Who said that you have to learn Nahu in a year? Who said that? Men, who said that? That is 2 years for you to learn Mustalah. Who said that? Who gave you this time limit on ilm? Everybody understand this? Last but not least, the last thing we'll mention from this chapter, he says here, قال يحيى بن أبي كثير لا يستطاع العلم براحة الجسد. The great tabi'i, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, what did he say? Knowledge cannot be obtained through what? Where can this be found? A famous statement. Where can I find this statement? Sahih Bukhari? Jami' Bayan al-Ilm Fadlihi? Sir Alam al-Nubala? Bukhari? طيب. What does it have to do with Sahih Bukhari? هذا السؤال. What does that statement have to do with something in Sahih Bukhari? طيب. Any other book of hadith we can find this author in? I want you guys to research this, inshallah. See which of Kutub al-Sitta you find this author in. And perhaps you'll be shocked and amazed in which chapter it's in. Come back tomorrow with what you have, inshallah. طيب. Moving forward. Al-Aiq al-Thamin. تفضلي. طيب. He says, Al-Aiq al-Thamin. Number 8. Dunu al-Himma. Low aspirations. Low aspirations. Not wanting much. Not wanting a lot. Let alone not wanting anything. What you overseas studying for? I want to translate, inshallah, translate some books. Inshallah, translate a couple books. Why are you studying in Kuliya Sharia? Or what are you studying here in Egypt for? I want to go back and, do a couple of classes. Nah? What are you here for? Just see if I like it, inshallah. I like knowledge. I want to learn a few basic things. Bas. That is exactly what that is. Low aspirations. What are you here for? I want to be the night ta'ala. I want to be like Ibn al-Qayyim. That's my role model in life. I want to be like Sheikh al-Albani. I want to follow the ulama. I want to spread Islam in my country. I want to spread Islam in my what? In my city. Everybody understand this? High aspirations. I want to be something. I want to be a scholar. I want to be a reciter of the Quran. I want to be a muhaddith. I want to change things by Allah's permission. Everybody understand this? I want to be influential and impactful in my world. Everybody understand this? One summer, it was my first year at the College of Hadith. We were getting our grades, our final grades after the exams. All the students were happy. The pain of the exams was over for the first year. Inshallah, everyone that passed got really good grades. So, it was the second year actually, not the first year, because I didn't go back this summer. So, there were different, dawrat. They have conferences during the summer and workshops with the ulama. They teach books, go through books. So I had a friend, student, a classmate from Jordan in College of Hadith. So I asked him, I said, are you going to Sheikh Balan? We're going to travel here to this city. We're going to go to this dawra, so on and so on and so forth. He said, la. I said, Lish, why not? He says, in my village, there's a sorcerer. There's a magician in my village in Jordan. That's where I'm going right now. I.e., he basically would say, I have no time to study this book or that book. I have to go back and do what? Kill somebody. That's what he was saying. I have to go back and slay somebody. I have to go back and do what? Fight with this what? With this sahir. Everybody understand this? Defeat him, crush him, and warn the people from his shirk and his kufr. So he clearly had what? High aspirations. Sitting in those classes, learning and benefiting, that's high. But he had what? He had something what? That was what? Bigger, higher. Everybody understand this? With the ilm that I learned from all year, I'm going back to do something that's going to make a major impact on my village, he said. This is a reality. He said, I have a sahir in my village. He is the imam of the local masjid, a sahir. Everybody understand this? So you got to have high aspirations. You got to have the killer instinct and ilm. You can't just want to be basic. You can't just want to be mediocre. You got to want to do something much more than that. Now, oftentimes people, they confuse this with arrogance and pride, as we just said. They confuse the two. You think you know everything. You think you're better if you have high aspirations. No, I don't think I'm better. Everybody understand this? When we had lunch, or we had breakfast, Samir? in the kitchen, who was the sign on the wall over the brother's house? He said, I'm not the boss. I'm not bossy, I just have better ideas. Everybody understand this? Hung up in the kitchen. It's a kitchen slogan. I'm not bossy, I just have what? Better ideas. For him, I'm not arrogant and conceited, but I just have what? Something that you don't necessarily have. For him to, everybody got the wisdom or not? I'm not trying to be the boss, but I'm a better natural what? Leader. You want me to be not to be a leader? I can't help that. So high aspirations does not mean that a person is automatically what? Arrogant, conceited, you're better than the ulama, you don't know your place. La, it does not. La yalzam hada. Everybody understand this? If you are conceited and arrogant and stuck up with high aspirations, then that's a mushkila, that's a problem. But if you're humble, humility doesn't mean that you want to keep humiliating yourself. Everybody understand this? You have to want something from knowledge for knowledge to give itself to you. Knowledge is not going to allow some low-life bum to take it. Knowledge is valuable. People have died and suffered to marry this woman, to take her hand in marriage. She's not going to give herself to you when someone that's not what? Wanting to be something. You want to come marry my daughter. Do you have a job? No, I don't. Okay, no problem. Tell you. Are you aspiring to get a job? To go to school? Anything? Not really. What makes you think I'm going to marry you to my daughter? And you have no aspirations in life. Make sense or not? You have to want something. You have to want to be something. You may not be that something now, but you have to what? You have to want to be something. So from ilm, you must want something from knowledge and not something that's mediocre. Where would Ibn Taymiyyah be if he didn't have aspirations? You don't think Ibn Taymiyyah had aspirations? Albani, you don't think he had aspirations? Read his life story with his father. When his father was a Hanafi, and he said that his father was a fanatic, he was a bigot for Hanafi madhab. And he said that when I told my father I want to learn hadith, he says, you'll never be successful. What do you think that did to Sheikh Albani, Sheikh Hassan? What did that do to him? It caused him what? No question, to overachieve and to prove him wrong. And that was the fuel leading to his aspiration. Everybody understand this? You have to have aspirations. That aspiration could be anything. It could be changing, helping out people that need help and need change. It could be pushing yourself to the challenge. It could be for the sheer love of knowledge. It could be to prove your parents wrong. And another confusion and mixing is high aspiration and lack of sincerity or proper intention. It doesn't mean that. I'm seeking knowledge for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the face of Allah, with the proper intention. But in my ibadah of Allah, I want to do it what? To the top. So it doesn't mean that you have a bad intention. It doesn't mean what? You have a bad intention. Last but not least, Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran Kareem, He talks about fighting in His cause, al-jihad fi sabilillah. And in the Quran, it doesn't just mention that the martyrs will be in paradise. It doesn't just mention that they will be blessed by Allah and loved by Allah. But Allah also talks about what? What does Allah also say? He talks about what? When it comes to fighting in Allah's cause, what is also said? La, something else. Mentioned several places in the Quran. I'm not going to give you the beginning of the ayah. It's going to be too easy of a clue. What happens? La. Moving forward. If we can't get that, I'm not going to give it to you. Think about it tonight, inshallah. No, that's in the hereafter. That's spiritual. That's spiritual. Something else, which is a major inspiration as well. And the ulama have spoken on and debated in detail. No. Moving forward. Maybe Hajj. What ayah in Hajj? Khairan, inshallah. All right, guys. The author, he says here, نَرَى بَيْنَ صُفُوفِ طَلَبَةِ الْعِلْمِ أُنَاسًا يَتَمَلَّكُونَ وَمَوَاهِبَ جَلِيلَةً. Listen carefully. He says, we find many students of knowledge who are very talented. He says, مَوَاهِبَ جَلِيلَةً. Talented. وَقُدْرَاتٌ هَائِلَةً. And they have all type of awesome powers. تُؤَهِلُهُمْ, which gives them the ability to be leaders when it comes to knowledge, academic leadership, the translator says. But what happens to them? What's the spike in the road that punctures their tires? What ruins them? What is the major obstacle? أَنَّ دُنُوَ هِمَّتِهِمْ يَمْحَقُ مَوَاهِبَهُمْ. وَيُزِيلُ بَهَاءَ نُبُوغِهِمْ. He says their low aspirations ruin and destroy their talents. And it totally extinguishes their genius. It wipes it away. Because you don't want nothing from life. You're young, smart, strong, talented, but you just want to hang out all day and talk and drink coffee and go here and eat this and be with this one and that one and fulan and fulan. So your youth, your strength, your power, your intelligence all goes where? Down the drain. Everybody understand this? Whether it's here in Canada or whether it's in Medina. You have to want something. Everybody understand this? If you don't want something, then know for sure this is going to be a major hindrance in your path of seeking ilm. فَتَجِدُهُمْ يَقْنَعُونَ بِيَسِيرِ الْمَعْلُومَاتِ. He says you find them content and pleased with a little bit of information. وَيَنَفُونَ مِنَ الْقِرَاءَةِ وَالْمُطَالَعَةِ. Listen carefully. He says, and they don't, you find them totally refusing to read and to research. So the Shaykh right here is clearly establishing from seeking knowledge is what? And also, not to be misunderstood, al-i'timad al-kutub dun al-ulama, as we explained. See the proof? I'm not just making this up. Everybody understand this? It doesn't mean not to read books. He says they refuse to read. وَيَتَشَاغَلُونَ عَنِ الطَّلَبِ وَالتَّحْصِيلِ. He says here, and they preoccupy themselves from studying and benefiting. وَهَؤُلَاءِ سَرْعَانُ مَا تُنْزَعُ مَلِكَةُ قدراتهم أو ملكية قدراتهم وتسلب بركة أوقاتهم وذلك بأن كفر النعمة مؤذن برحيلها كما أن شكرها مؤذن بمزيدها. He says here, and these people here, he says very often and very fast are their talents snatched away from them. Their talents are snatched away. And the barakah of their time is removed. Why was their time no longer blessed? Why was their talents, or why were their talents taken away? He says because when you're ungrateful to Allah, it means that the blessings will leave you. And when you're grateful to Allah, the blessings will stay and they'll be increased. So Allah Azza wa Jal, the brain power that He blessed you with, the youth that He blessed you with, the smarts that He blessed you with, the skills that He blessed you with, and you don't want to seek knowledge, or you seek knowledge but you don't want to take it to the next level, it means that you're ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we all know the outcome of that. Everybody clear on this? That's the mathematical equation here. 1 + 1 = 2. Allah gave you something special. You want to be something simple and normal and average. You have disrespected Allah Azza wa Jal. Everybody understand this? Moving forward. قال الفراء رحمه الله تعالى لا أرحم أحدا كرحمتي لرجلين رجل يطلب العلم ولا فهم له ورجل يفهم ولا يطلب. Listen to this. Al-Farra rahimahullah, he said, it's two people that I consider to be the most pitiful. The most pitiful of men are two. The most miskeen people are two types of people. The first is a man who seeks knowledge and he doesn't have any understanding. La fahma la. He doesn't know what he's doing. Number two is a man who understands but he doesn't seek it. I.e. he's mentally sharp, but he wants to use a dull butter knife. And Allah has blessed him with the sharpest kitchen knife, but he says, what? Give me that what? Pass me a spoon. Everybody understand this? The first pitiful man is a one with a spoon trying to cut something. La fahma la. He's trying to use a spoon to cut a steak. He has no understanding that a spoon is not for cutting. And the second man is the one who has the sharp steak knife, but he wants to use a what? A spoon. Or be complacent with a dull knife. He says, and I'm quite amazed and appalled as someone who has the ability to seek knowledge and he doesn't learn. Because of what? Low aspirations. وقال أبو الفرج بن الجوزي رحمه الله تعليقا على قول أبي الطيب المتبني ولم أرى في عيوب الناس عيبا كنقص القادرين على التمام. He then quotes Ibn al-Jawzi, who comments on the statement of a poet. He says, Abu Tayyib al-Mutabanni, he said, وَلَمْ أَرَ فِي عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ عَيْبًا. And there's never a problem that the people have that I've seen is worse than deficiency for those who have the ability to be perfect. There's no problem that I've seen that's uglier among all of the ugly problems that people have than those who have the ability to be perfect, but they wish to remain deficient and lacking. Those who have the ability to do more, but because of their low aspirations, they keep the naqs. ينبغي للعاقل أن ينتهي إلى غاية ما يمكنه. He says it's necessary for the aqil, the intellectual, the smart person, to stop where, the furthest he can stop. To push it to the limit, as we would say. Make maximum full power ahead. Press the gas as much as you can. Everybody understand this? فلو كان يتصور للآدم صعود السماوات لرأيت من أقبح النقائص رضاه بالأرض. الله أكبر. Listen to this speech, and this goes to show you how certain knowledge and certain statements are limited to time. Limited to what? To time. Paying attention. He says, listen to this. He said, yutasawwar. If a person could even think and imagine for a human being to do what? Go to the heavens, the space. He says, and you will see the ugliest problem is for him to want to remain on the earth. What would Ibn al-Jawzi say if he saw what? The space exploration today. Everybody understand this? In his time, Ibn al-Jawzi's time, it was totally imaginable for a human being to do what? Su'ud as-samawat, go to the heavens. He says, you have the ability, what? To soar, but you want to what? Walk. That doesn't even make any what? Any sense. Everybody understand the point? So, if I said sisters, how many sisters have the ability to soar? Fly. And they still want to walk. Sheikh, I'm not, but not me. I'm not, How many brothers we have at this sermon among us? Talented young brothers. What are you doing with your life? What are your aspirations? You have the ability to be in space and you want to stay on earth. All right, we're clear on this? It's a major problem that we have. You have to want something out of ilm. You can't just want to be a normal average person. ولو كانت النبوة تحصل بالاجتهاد رأيت المقصر في تحصيلها في حضيض. He says, and if prophecy was obtainable through hard work, you would find the slacker doing what? Working hard. والسيرة الجميلة عند الحكماء خروج النفس إلى غاية كمالها الممكن لها في العلم والعمل. قال وفي الجملة لا يترك فضيلة يمكن تحصيلها إلا حصلها فإن القنوع حالة الأراذل. Allahu Akbar. He says, in brief, any virtue that you can obtain, you should obtain. And that's because aradil, he says, low people, they are content and pleased with just a little. Low people, low-minded people, people with no type of aspirations. And then he quotes beautiful poetry, which we read to the younger students in Medina some years back. فَكُنْ رَجُلًا رِجْلُهُ فِي الثُّرَى وَهَامَةُ هَمَّتِهِ فِي الثُّرَيَّا. He says, so be a man whose feet walk on dirt and whose mind walks with the stars. He says, be a man who walks on earth, but his mind is where? In space. You have what? High aspirations. Even though you're humble and you're a human being and you're a beginning student and you haven't yet mastered ilm. Look, see, understand the wisdom of the poetry? You're still where? You're rigid. Your foot is where? In the thura, the dirt. You're on earth. I'm a beginner. Physically, what I know, but my mind is where? Everybody understand this? When I go to sleep at night, I'm thinking about what it's going to feel like, what it's going to be like. When I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about what? What it's going to be like, what it's going to feel like. Me going to school in the morning is a step of me actualizing my actual what? Dream. You understand this? Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward, let's move on, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to the next aiq, the next obstacle, the next problem, the next pitfall. Very long speech here. Beautiful speech of the author, rahimahullah. You can go back to the English translation and also the original Arabic book. He says, العائق التاسع والعاشر. اقرأي. لا طيب. He says, number 9 and number 10. Procrastination and longing. Procrastination and longing. Yeah, I'm going overseas next year, inshallah. Next year, bidnillah. I'm gonna study Medina when I finish studying to be a nurse, inshallah. After I get married, I'm gonna go overseas. Well, I want to go overseas yet because I don't have enough money saved up. Or it's fitting in the country, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till this country's open up. I'm gonna wait till this sheikh comes back. So what we say on a daily basis. You see a brother one summer, you see him another summer, a third summer, a fourth summer, and he's saying, I'm gonna what? I'm gonna go overseas, I'm gonna go overseas. I want to learn Arabic next week, inshallah. I'm going to start the class next week. I'm going to do the Quran class next week, inshallah ta'ala. I'm going to go to the class, so I'm going to do it, inshallah ta'ala. And he doesn't realize time keeps slipping from his hands. He gets older and older, more dunya responsibilities, more stress, more sins living in Canada, more problems in the Middle East, and his ability and option, the opportunity of seeking him there goes what? Further from his reach. This is from the tricks of the shaitan, is to procrastinate. Also, he says, at-tamanni. The translator says longing. That's one way of translating it. One may say false hopes. Wanting something and longing for something that you aren't willing to work for. You aren't willing to what? Work for. The ruling on longing and hoping for things, that's explained in the proper places. What's important is you want to be this great scholar, but you're not willing to suffer, to sacrifice, and to struggle like that great scholar. So that in itself is a waste of time. And it's also disrespect. Everybody understand this? You want the fruit, but you're unwilling to what? Plant a tree. Sweat. You're unwilling to be patient for the tree to grow, for the flower to blossom and to bloom, but you want it. Everybody understand this? This is a major cancer that many of us suffer from, procrastination. He says here, he goes on to talk about the linguistical meaning of it. He says, أما التسويف, he says, والتسويف والتمني داعان خطيران يفسدان القلب والوقت. He says these are two killing cancers that destroy one's heart and destroy one's time. Allahu Akbar. It destroys your heart and your time. It ruins both of them. And it causes you to live in a fantasy world. A fantasy world. Unrealistic world. أما التسويف فصفة بليد الحس عديم المبالاة. كلما همت نفسه بخير عاقها بسوف وسأعمل حتى يفجأه الموت فيقول ربي لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب. He says, as for procrastination, then that's the quality of the moron. بليد الحس. Adim al-Mubala, the one who's totally nonchalant. He doesn't care about anything. Whenever he thinks about doing some good, he slows it down by saying, Inshallah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Soon I'm going to do it. And many of us, we use Inshallah to prove and to validate our procrastination. It's well known. You ask a brother to do something, be here on this time, give this. Some people say, I'm not saying this. Somebody says, if he says, Inshallah, the automatically means what? It's not going to happen. Is this not the case? If he says, yeah, or not even yeah, he says what? Inshallah. Inshallah, that means I'm automatically giving an excuse for my ineptness to do the thing that you asked me to do, to keep my word, to be on time. Inshallah. If a person says, nah, I'm inshallah, different story. And also how you say it. Say inshallah. Or you say inshallah, inshallah. Everybody understand this or not? As is well known in many places, I'm not going to mention the country. I don't want to take it offensively. But some people that say in this country, the sign that someone is lying to you is when they swear by Allah. The moment they say, Wallahi, that's the sign that he's lying to you. Imagine that. He says in the moment someone says he swears by this sheikh or this grave or this mashhad, then you know he's what? You know he's telling the truth when he swears by the wali. But if he says Wallahi, you automatically know he's gassing you up. He says a person will keep saying this until death comes to him. And as Allah said in the Quran, Rabbi lawla akhartani ila ajlin qareeb. Oh Allah, my Lord, if you only gave me a little more time. فعلى طالب العلم أن يتنزه عن هذه المنقصة ويبادر بالأعمال عملا بقوله تعالى فاستبقوا الخيرات. Therefore, it is upon a student of knowledge to respect himself from falling into this deficiency. يتنزه, got to be far from that. That's something that's unbefitting of you. And to rush forward with action, implementing Allah Azza wa Jal saying, rush to acts of good. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Run, hasten, rush forth to Allah's forgiveness and paradise, whose expansiveness is of that of the heavens and the earth, which has been made and set for the muttaqeen. فَأَعْرَفُ النَّاسِ بِقِيمَةِ الْوَقْتِ وَأَوْلَاهُمْ بِالْإِنْتِفَاعِ بِهِ كُلِّهِ. Therefore, the student of knowledge is supposed to be the smartest and the wisest and the cheapest person with time. He is supposed to know the value of time more than anyone else, better than anyone else. He's supposed to be the most shrewd businessman when it comes to the dollar bill. He knows the value and the power of money more than anyone else. Everybody understand this? Every dollar, what? Counts. You want to make a project, you have to put down 20%, 30%. He knows that. That's a successful businessman. He who is cheap or procrastinates or I don't need to, inshallah, I'm going to do it. He's going to what? He's not going to be successful in his business. And this is the greatest business. Tijaratan, Allah says, lan tabur. A trade, a commerce which would never, ever what? Go away. Never. Khairan, inshallah. Then the author, he mentions a few ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ and a few statements of many of the Salaf al-Salih. Naam. Then he goes on, أَمَّا التَّمَنِّي فَمِنْهُ مَمْدُوحٌ وَمِنْهُ مَذْمُومٌ. As far as longing or long hope, he says there's two types. There's a good type and there's a bad type. أما الممدوح فهو أن يتمنى فعل الخير المندوب ولا يستطيعه وله ثلاثة شروط. The praiseworthy type is for one to hope and wish and long to do good things, recommended things, but he can't. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I'm crippled, I'm not young enough anymore, I can't do that anymore. But he wants to do it, and he has three conditions for it to be good. Number one, الأول العزم على الفعل متى قدر عليه, is that he has to be totally resolute that whenever I get the ability to do it, I'm going to do it. So I can't go to Medina right now. I can't. My mother is sick. I have an issue with my brother. I can't go right now. And if I wanted to, I can't. I have major obligations. Or I'm not accepted yet. My passport, I don't have the ability. But as soon as I get my passport, as soon as I get that letter in the mail, as soon as I get that email, as soon as my mother is cured and on her feet, I'm what? Sheikh Jami, I'm where? The first plane smoking, out of here, gone. If you don't have this intention in your heart and on your mind, then your tamanni is no longer praiseworthy. It's now what? Madhmoom, it's blameworthy. He says, الثاني كونه في حدود الشرعيات كتمني بناء مسجد ونحوه. It got to be something that you're dreaming for and longing for that's actually permissible, and not longing and dreaming for to do some haram act. الثالث أن لا يكون ديدن الإنسان. The last condition is that it can't be something that's your normal practice. You always long and hope. You're always dreaming and dreaming and dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. That's all you do is dream and long and hope. Everybody understand this? A little bit of dream, a little bit of hoping, and the rest has to be what? Action. A modern phenomena of the pop culture today, it's well known, is inspirational videos. Inspirational quotes. Every athlete, every boxer, basketball player, golf champion, president, governor, actor, everyone has inspirational quotes. You go in Barnes and Nobles, so many books, inspirational quotes, inspirational quotes, inspirational quotes, inspirational quotes, inspirational stories. You go on YouTube, that's all you want to find. Workout video, inspiration video. This athlete, this is his training regimen, this, that. That's all you're going to find. And that's a good thing initially, to be inspired, to read the quotes, to see the deepness of this athlete's mind, of how this person went from being a poor peasant to being a what? Oscar, Grammy-winning actor. It means a lot. He had a lot of drive, no doubt about that. He was broke on the streets, trying to sell this movie to becoming a blockbuster idol actor. You can be inspired by that. We're talking about worldly things now, all right? But it can't just be a thing which you just keep watching these videos and you keep reading these inspirational quotes. Inspirational quote, inspirational quote, inspirational quote, and you just keep living in this dream world of inspiration. Rather, as the experts of sports say, it has to be 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. You have to sweat much more than you dream and think. Take the statement, I woke up 3 in the morning and I ran for 20 miles, I came home, I did this, I did that, and then the rest of it has to be what? You running and lifting weights and punishing and torturing yourself in the weight room. And now you just keep watching the video, oh, he's a beast, look how he look. No, lie. Because it pushes you to fantasy world. Everybody understand this? That's the third condition. And that's the only thing that you what? Do is dream, 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 long, 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 hope, hope, hope. Everybody understand this? 10% per aspiration, and the rest has to be what? 90% of you sweating. Everybody clear this? This is the life of Sheikh Al-Albani, an amazing, beautiful, inspirational life. The rest of my time must be spent me reading those books and sitting with the scholars and memorizing hadith like Sheikh Al-Albani, and not just fantasizing day and night of Sheikh Al-Albani's life. Everybody understand this? The point, hopefully everyone can see so far in this book, is that you see how shaitan doesn't stay on one track. Shaitan doesn't have one simple attack. Frontal attack, flanks you, comes from behind. He has several different tricks, several different avenues to trick you up. He doesn't just come directly at you. Everybody understand this? So beware of this. Be mindful of this. He says, وَأَمَّا الْمَذْمُومِ فقد عبر عنه ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى في شرح كلام الشيخ الإسلام أبي إسماعيل الهروي عن مفسدات القلب. فقال المفسد الثاني من مفسدات القلب ركوبه بحر التمني، وبحر لا ساحل له، والبحر الذي يركبه مفاليس العالم، كما قيل إذا تمنيت بئت الليل مغتبطا إن المنى رأس أموال المفاليس. He says, as far as the second type of longing and hoping, then Ibn al-Qayyim has explained it. Ibn al-Qayyim explained it. And he explained it speaking on the original text, or the original kalam of Shaykh al-Islam Abi Ismail al-Harawi, not Ibn Taymiyyah. He says Abu Ismail al-Harawi, the author of the book Dhamm al-Kalam, or Dhamm al-Hawa. Ayan? Dhamm al-Kalam wal-Hawa. طيب، وهو صاحب كتاب آخر أشهر منه وهو الذي شرحه ابن القيم. We quote, how many times we quoted from this book? How many times we read from this book? Huh, Sam, you're supposed to know this. Ibn al-Qayyim, this is the hadith disciple Ahsant. Madarij. Why I have to give you so many clues though? Why can't you get it quick? No look pass. We said in the gym. Huh? Sheikh Hassan, what? No look pass. Not, whoa, no look pass. Everybody saying this? Madarij al-Salikin. That's the book of Ibn al-Qayyim. What's the book of Al-Harawi? What's it called? Fi Sharhi? لا أبدا. لا ابن تيمية. ابن اقتضاء. طيب, ماشي. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, speaking on Al-Harawi speech, listen carefully about the destroyers of the heart. Destroyers of the heart. He said the second destroyer of the heart is for a person to ride the sea of hope, the sea of longing, the sea of dreaming. He called it a bahr, an ocean. He says, and it's an ocean of immeasurable depth, immeasurable width. There's no coast. There is no coast. There's no island. It's nothing but water. Huh? It's something that once you go into, it's what? Endless. Everybody understand this? He says, and it is the sea that broke people swimming and travel upon. It's the sea that they ride their boats in this sea. The mafalis, poor people, bankrupt people. Everybody understand this? And then he quotes, he says, إِذَا تَمَنَّيْتُ بِئْتُ اللَّيْلَ. He says here, quoting in these lines of poetry, saying that muna, dreams, obviously extensive, excessive, that's what he means. He says, رَأْسُ أَمْوَالِ الْمَفَالِيس. He says that's the capital of broke people. That's the capital of bums, mafalis, bankrupt. That's their money. That's what they rely upon. Just doing what? Hoping, dreaming, and not acting. Keep watching the inspirational video. Keep reading the inspirational quotes, but not what? Not actually sweating. Everybody understand this? He says here, وَبُضَاعَةُ رُكَّابِهِ مَوَاعِيدِ الشَّيْطَانِ وَخَيَلَاتَ الْمَحَالِ وَالْبُهْتَانِ. Allahu Akbar. He says, and the valued goods of these sea merchants, these sea wayfaring men, these seamen, is the promises of the devil, an imagination of the fantasy world. That's what they thrive upon. That's what they eat. That's what they drink. That's what they give. That's what they take. Nothingness. What? Just grabbing air. I'm going to do it, inshallah. I'm going to go overseas. I'm going to study. I got to graduate to please my mother. I got to get married. I got to do this. I got to be a nurse for 2 years, get my qualifications, become certified. Then I'm going to go to Medina. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. You're not going to Medina when you graduate from school. You're not going to Medina after you get married and have 2 children. You're not going to Medina after you get this big house. You're not going to Medina. It's not going to happen. First and foremost is Medina has a what? Time limit. So that's the first act of stupidity. You're 22 right now. College takes another 2.5 years. 24, 20. What makes you think you're going to get them before 25? Let alone, what makes you think you have the ability to study for 18 hours out the day? 16 hours out of a day, 20 hours out of a day. You have all of these major responsibilities, bills, and debts. That's totally what? It's unrealistic. It's delusional. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So, with this, alhamdulillah, we have successfully finished the awaiq. The author mentioned 10 obstacles. It does not mean that these are the only 10 obstacles, huh? But these are the 10 that the author chose to what? Mention. It does not mean that these are the only ones. There are many, many others. And this is nothing more than a little bit in your cup, and the rest of it is upon you to do what? Pour and fill it and drink it yourself. 10, inshallah, can lead you to the others. And hopefully these are the most important. Hopefully these are the most dangerous and the most frequently obstacles, or frequently falling into obstacles. Everybody understand this? But it doesn't mean that there are other things that you don't have to watch out for. Khairan, inshallah. Then the author, he says, شَذَرَاتٌ مِنْ كَلَامِ الْعُلَمَاءِ عَنِ الْعِلْمِ وَطَلَبِهِ. He then says, or says in English, pearls of wisdom from the scholars regarding knowledge and pursuing it. قال الحسن البصري رحمه الله كان الرجل إذا طلب العلم لم يلبث أن يرى ذلك في تخشعه وبصره ولسانه ويده وصلاته وزهده. وإن كان الرجل ليصيب الباب من أبواب العلم فيعمل به فيكون خير له من الدنيا وما فيها. الله أكبر. Hassan al-Basri said that whenever a man sought knowledge, only a short period of time will go by until you could see the effects of that knowledge and his khushu', and his eyes, what he looked at, how he looked with his eyes. You see it in his what? In his eyes, he said. He says in his tongue, in his hand, his prayer, and his abstinence from the worldly life. How many of us can even claim this? How long we've been studying and teaching classes? My salah, my eyes, my tongue, my hands. It's a sad situation. And this is the kalam also, the kalam of the who? The Salaf as-Salih. Everybody understand this? From the way of the Salaf as-Salih is for you to implement your knowledge and act upon your knowledge, and for people to benefit from your knowledge, and it to be manifested in your character. For it to be manifested where? In your character. Everybody understand this? Cursing people, beating people, hitting people, reviling people, making fun of people, looking at haram things, doing haram acts, not praying, praying late, not focusing on your prayer. You haven't really benefited from your knowledge. Hassan al-Basri, he then says, and for a man to learn one aspect from knowledge, one thing, and act upon it, is better than the whole entire worldly life and all that is therein. So you just study one book, one kitab al-Janais. What if you studied the whole entire book? What if you studied 10 other books? What if you studied for 10, 20, 30 years? How much virtue and reward would there be in it for you? And this speech right here is also needed by the parents, the Muslim parents. For your son to go overseas and learn knowledge just a little bit and act upon it is better than any degree or whatever amount of money they can bring back, if you only but knew. If you only but knew. Number 2, قال الشافعي اقرأي. فَعَنَاءٌ. Shafi'i rahimahullah said, knowledge is of two types. Knowledge of the world, which is fiqh. Knowledge of the deen, excuse me. Sabqu lisan. Knowledge of the deen, which is what? Fiqh. And he says knowledge of the dunya, which is medicine. Tib, medicine. He says any type of knowledge of science besides this, poetry, and other than that, he says it's a struggle, a waste of time. The important thing here, Shafi'i rahimahullah, is not the who? Messenger of Allah. Nor the Sahaba, nor the Tabi'een. Without any disrespect to Imam Shafi'i. So his speech is not hujjah, let alone the proper interpretation of his speech. Everybody understand this? It doesn't mean it's haram to learn poetry and it's only medicine. And this is an interesting fact here. He's saying that the only worldly science is tib, medicine. It's deep. Most parents today, or many parents from certain backgrounds and nationalities and ethnicities, the only knowledge that they consider to be worthy for their sons to learn is being a what? A doctor. So don't be too rushed to curse this one and curse that one. Maybe they're following who? A Shafi'i. You can be an engineer. They say, no. Mom, I'm making millions of dollars. No. I'm this athlete. La. I'm a physicist, an astrophysicist. This, la. You have to be a what? Doctor. Sheikh Jami. Maybe لعل هؤلاء على مذهب إيه؟ اللطائف, the tara'if. You never know. You never know. طيب. What's important is the statement of Shafi'i. What's meant by it is to show you the importance of Islamic knowledge. طيب. وقال الأصمعي إن أخوف من كذب. Al-Asma'i said, the greatest fear that I have upon a student of knowledge is for him not to learn grammar. It's to not properly learn grammar. If he doesn't learn grammar properly, perhaps he would say something about the Messenger of Allah and end up lying on the Messenger of Allah. So look at that. We want to rush. It said something to the what? The nice, the hot stuff. But you want to take your time and learn Arabic properly for years. Fix your crooked tongue. Your tongue is crooked. You have to learn how to read properly, pronounce properly, study properly Arabic. You have to know the fi'l, the fa'il, the maf'ul. You have to learn the sarf. You have to learn the lugha al-arabiya. Learn vocabulary. Learn Arabic in simple basic steps. Devote time to learn Arabic. Because if you learn Arabic, and Nahu specifically, Asma'i said, like Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala said, Sahula alayhi. He says everything after that will become easy. Everything after grammar becomes what? Easy. طيب. قال سحنون بن سعيد Allahu Akbar. Sahnun ibn Sa'id said, the people who are most audacious to give fatwas are those who have the least knowledge. Those who have the least knowledge. The emptiest barrels make the most noise. He says, a man learned one thing from ilm, and he thinks that all of the truth is with him. What would Sahnun say if he came to Toronto, Canada today? He studied 1 year, 1 camp, 1 school, 1 graduation, and I'm the only masjid for the people to learn and benefit from. I'm the only mustafid in the whole entire GTA. La, Canada, North America. Only take from this one and that one. And he barely, what? Studied. كان بعض الحكماء يقول Allahu Akbar. He says some of the wise people used to say, may Allah benefit us all from knowledge. And not make the only thing that we get from knowledge is hearing it, listening it, and being amazed by it. Like we said, a romantic khutbah. So marvelous. That story of that man. Wow. So nice. So entertaining. What do you benefit from it? How does it help you? How many speakers and listeners? This all they want to talk about is these intriguing stories. This is well known in social media today. And that's the only thing that they get from knowledge, is these intriguing, romanticized stories of how this man escaped this and he went here and he did this. It's not what the wise people that pass. That's not how they want it to be. Qala Sufyan al-Thawri, not Abu Sufyan al-Thawri. Allahumma sta'an. Sufyan al-Thawri said, إِذَا تَرَأَسَ الرَّجُلُ سَرِيعًا, he says, when a man takes leadership too quickly, أَضَرَّ بِكَثِيرٍ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ, it will be what? He says it's more harmful than a lot of knowledge. It's much more harmful. وَإِذَا طَلَبَ وَطَلَبَ بَلَغَ, and when he seeks and then seeks, he'll reach his destination. Seeking knowledge on top of seeking knowledge. Like we said, the beginning of the beginning is when you become frustrated. That's the beginning now. You're now upon the right track, and not before that. قال العباس بن المغيرة الدراوردي ليعرضوا عليه الدراوردي رديء اللسان. Allahu Akbar. It says on page 87, Abdul Aziz ibn ad-Darawardi came with a group to my father to show him a book. So ad-Darawardi read for them, and his reading was poor, and he made horrible what? Mistakes. Then my father said, woe unto you, O ad-Darawardi. You were better off correcting your tongue and in more need of it than looking into this matter or anything else. I.e., fix yourself before you try to what? Fix somebody else. In your refutation of this misguided mubtadi', wal-iyadu billah, you recite, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهُ عَلَى حَرْفٍ ثم يكرر. لا ليس فقط سبق لسان، قد يحصل. لا كرر الآية. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهُ عَلى حرف ويرد ويضلل ويحذر من refuting somebody. This is a deviant, he's an evil shaitan, he's dal mudil, and he recited the Quran al-Kareem, and he made a statement of kufr akbar. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهُ عَلَى حَرْفٍ, and from people, from mankind, from nas, man يَعْبُدُ اللَّهُ, he says, is those what? He says, هكذا قرأ هو. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهُ إيش؟ وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. He says from the, Allah أعلم, هل قرأ هذا ولا كالأول? He said with a dhamma instead of a what? A fatah. Proving that Allah does what? Allah worships. على حرف وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, on the edge, on the corner. And then it just wasn't a mistake that he said the first time, but he did what? Proving that that's how he actually. You understand the story? You should focus on reading some Quran, reading the Quran properly before you call someone an innovator or misguided. Everybody understand this? Last but not least, he says, قال الزهري فأيها أخذت فيه قطع بك قبل أن تبلغه. فإن من رام أخذه. طيب, جزاك الله خيرا. Az-Zuhri rahimahullah ta'ala, he said here, لا تكابر العلم. Don't fight with knowledge. Don't contest with it. Don't be stuck up and pig-headed with knowledge. Realize that knowledge is bigger, stronger, and faster than you. Don't try to equal yourself with ilm. Al-mukabara. Acting like it's not when it actually is. Realize that knowledge is something that is great. It's monstrous. Don't try to fight it. Don't act like you're an equal opponent with ilm. That's the maqsood of Zuhri here. La tukabir al-ilm. Why not? Why can't I? I'm smart. I can memorize. I can study. I can sacrifice my time. فَإِنَّ الْعِلْمَ أَوْدِيَةٌ. Because knowledge is like it's valleys, lands. He says, anyone you try to what? Travel and traverse and go towards is longer than you can walk and ride. He says, قَطْعَ بِكَ قَبْلَ أَن تَبْلُغَهُ. You'll exhaust yourself, you run out before you what? Reach the end of the valley. No matter what valley it is. Fiqh, nahu, tafsir, this, that, whatever it is. It's much more than what you are built for. Everybody understand the Zuhdi speech? The knowledge is bigger, stronger, longer, deeper than what you are. Everybody understand this? Don't try to bet with this person. His pockets is what? He will make you broke. In the beginning, you think you got enough money. But as you keep gambling and gambling, next thing you know what? You're scraping the pennies in your pocket, and he's pulling out another chest and puts it on the table. Come on, let's go. Let's keep playing. Don't even try to gamble with this person. His money and your money are totally what? It's endless amount of money. Everybody understand this? Your little peanuts that you scrape together, considered to his wealth, is considered to be a trifle. هذا معنى كلام الزهري. Everybody understand this or not? Don't even play around with it. Because the valley will keep going and you will pass out. You'll fall out before the valley, what? Ends. Everybody understand this? Az-Zuhri then said, however, learn knowledge day and night. He says, مَعَ الْأَيَّامِ وَاللَّيَالِ, through days and through nights. And don't try to take knowledge all at once. Because he who wishes to take it all at once, it will go away from him and escape him all at once. He says, وَلَكِنَ الشَّيْء بَعْدَ الشَّيْء, piece by piece, step by step, and most importantly, consistency. So these 3 points here, Adam, we're going to conclude our class tonight. Alhamdulillah, we finish most of the book tomorrow. Bidina is the kalam of Ibn Sa'di, Abdurrahman ibn Nasr as-Sa'di, one of the appendixes of the book. Tayyib. The last thing I want to end with you, Adam. When I first met you in Ottawa, what was the first step that I mentioned with regards to da'wah and teaching people? The first thing that you should do is to do what? To all of you brothers in the basement that night. That wasn't the first thing. Well, I'm talking about something specific with regards to da'wah. It was freezing cold that night. What was the first thing I mentioned, Samir? With regards to da'wah, teaching people, what's the first thing you should focus on? The brothers were complaining, Ottawa's dead, nothing's in Ottawa, we have no ilm in Ottawa, there's no scholars in Ottawa, there's no ilm, there's no mashayikh, there's no du'at in Ottawa, ila akhiri. What was the first thing I said? It's to raise the people's what? Awareness. It's to raise the people's what? Awareness. Then you teach them ilm and aqidah and Islam, Islamic identity. You learn shaving the beard is haram, not wearing hijab is haram, riba is haram, this, that. Raising their what? Awareness. You're put on earth to worship Allah, not just to have worldly pleasures. After that, here in Toronto, I said the next 2 steps were what? Being aware and also being sincere to Allah. And then we mentioned 2 more vital steps, which were automatic keys, or keys for automatic success, or guaranteed success, not automatic success. We said 2 things. I said hard work and what? Where is that found here? The first point is already mentioned is what? That's an awwal shay. First thing he said was what? And that is what? Awareness. It's for you to be aware of what knowledge is. Knowledge is for you to get all of it. For you to take all of it and master all of it. It's just too much. You literally go crazy in the library. It's just too much ilm there. You're talking about books upon books upon books upon books upon books. And one subject, let alone different subjects. Everybody understand this? And just, subhanAllah, think about all of the books of the Muslim scholars that were burnt. The books that were stolen, the books that were lost, the books that blew away in the wind. Look at all of the books that we have now from the ulama of the past. Think how many books they actually wrote. This is deep if you think about it. Everybody understand this? How many books did they write? How many books were actually mafqood, lost? So with that being said, be aware of what knowledge actually is. The next step, he says, is to do what? وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيْء بَعْدَ الشَّيْء. You have to actually what? Work. Ma'a. That is the consistency. So seek Allah's barakah, seek Allah's help. You got to work hard. And after you work hard, you have to do what? Consistent. It doesn't happen overnight. Khayr, inshallah, jazakumullah khayran. This is the kalam of Sheikh Sa'di that the author mentioned. He put in the end of the book. That will be the last thing that we'll mention from the book tomorrow. Well, alhamdulillah, we completed the 10 obstacles. And inshallah, we'll complete the second appendix. And we'll have, walillah alhamd, fulfilled our destiny by Allah Azza wa Jall's grace and completed an entire book in less than 3 days. Walillahi alhamd. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it weighty and heavy on a scale of good deeds of the author. Ameen. May Allah reward the Shaykh on our behalf. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to implement it and to understand it, first and foremost, and implement it. And most importantly, to ponder and reflect. Go home, summarize the points, listen to the recordings, and just look yourself in the mirror and ask what applies to me and what doesn't apply to me. Where am I lacking? What needs a tune-up? What needs a replacement? What needs to be fixed? And ask yourself, am I really seriously trying to seek knowledge? Or am I being hypocritical and putting on a front and faking? Ask yourself this question. I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, before any of you. I'm speaking to all of you as well. Don't allow these benefits, which are many benefits that we took today and yesterday, go to waste without you actually thinking about them and implementing them. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa jazakumullahu khairan. Are there any questions from the class or any questions briefly we can take before we go? And anyone who wishes to leave, it's late, he can leave, he can do so, feel free. Wala haraj, if'al wala haraj, la bas. Tfadali. First question is, with regards to high aspirations, how do you strike the balance between high aspirations and knowing the limits of yourself? First and foremost is, how do you know the limits of yourself? رَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِنُفُوسِكُمْ. Allah has more knowledge of your nufus than you do. Allah knows what's in your nufus. How do you know your limitations? That's the first question. Someone may say, I've tried it and I couldn't do it. I fell. I noticed out of my limitations. Out of your limitations to work for, or out of your limitations of natural talent? Talent, yeah, you say, I'm not that talented. I'm just not that good. Mashi. But something that I can acquire, even if it isn't the highest level, but I can acquire it and learn it and get it somehow, even if it takes 10 years. You don't know that. You don't know that. All right? Secondly is having high aspirations upon that which you know that you can do. Having high aspirations upon that which you have yaqeen, you're certain about, it is within your limitations. Clear on that? So have high aspirations for something that you don't know about, and have high aspirations for that which you know you can do, but kick yourself and shake off the laziness within your limitations. I know I can do this. Clearly, I know I can, but I don't have high aspirations. As far as the second question, how do you know when it's time to teach and when it's not time to teach? Sometimes it's not upon you to make that decision. Leave it up to your teacher. Your teacher who's supposed to be experienced and learn it. So sometimes, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, your teacher says, I want you to teach this class. You say, no, Sheikh, I'm not ready. He says, I want you to teach the class. No, but, I'm not asking you about your opinion. I never asked you what you thought. I never said that I even considered your knowledge about yourself. I'm telling you, you're qualified to teach the class. So if you reject what I'm saying, you're basically telling me that I'm either lying to you, I'm not being honest with you, or I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I don't think that any student of knowledge ever wants to think that about his or her what? Teacher. As far as with regards to if the decision isn't made by your teacher, okay, look at what you've studied. Ask yourself the question. Did I study the book? Did I understand the whole book? Was I evaluated in the book? Have I practiced? Have I reviewed? And is there an actual need for me to teach? A major gaping hole, a block missing out of the wall. There has to be, someone has to fill it. I have the ability, I know it, I studied it properly. That's one thing. Or someone comes to you and they bring you something which is clear, is ma'qul, is logical. We're not asking you to give this crazy fatwa. We're not asking you to recite this. We're asking you to teach a basic class on this and that, and we know that you studied. It's a means of review for you. It's a means of helping out your brothers and sisters, getting closer to Allah, paying zakat on your knowledge. Why not? Why what? Why not? And don't think that a teacher has to know everything. A teacher has to prepare. A teacher has to review. And oftentimes Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless you with things through teaching. And it will open things, dimensions that you never ever thought about just because you teach. Let alone if you have the ability to teach one subject over and over and over again until you master that thing. So there is no one set rule. It depends on you. It depends on your teacher. It depends where you are, who's around you, who else can teach the class, or no one else can teach the class. It depends. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So have a constant relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, make sure you have a relationship after that with your teachers, your elders, and you ask them advice. Inshallah ta'ala. There's no one set rule, set in stone. Allah knows the best. Fadal. Walaki kadhalik. Question is regarding being forbearant, being tolerant with your family, your parents, your relatives, siblings. Not being too harsh or extreme, but at the same time preventing them from doing haram acts in your presence, etc. It's very simple. You tell your family members, I'm not in charge of any of you. I'm not your protector or your watcher or your keeper. I'm not your guard dog. I'm your daughter. I'm your sister. I'm your cousin, so on and so forth. I can try to give you advice. I can try to help you out. I can love you for the sake of Allah. If I have to hate you for the sake of Allah, that's all I can do. But don't bring that haram stuff in my presence, please. Because not only is it haram and disrespectful to Allah, but it's disrespectful to me. Just like I don't come and force my agenda on you. You're mutabarrij, you don't wear hijab. I don't come and take an abaya and throw it on you and wrap you up, and I don't do that to you. So don't disrespect me. Don't disrespect me. And if they refuse to respect you, then remove yourself from them. And that which they're not disrespecting you, they're not breaking the laws, and then your family, you sit with them and you try your best to give them their family rights. Don't impose upon them, but make it clear to them your lifestyle. Make it clear to them what you're about. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I don't think if you have a clear position with the proper akhlaq and proper knowledge, they're going to try to bring it around you too much once your position is clear. Leave her alone. She's just in that type. That's fine. That's all you have to do, bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's important is to be patient with your family. What's important is to realize that you were once in a state, regardless whether you were sinful or not, whether you were a revert Muslim or not, but you once didn't know everything, and Allah guided you, Allah taught you. So be patient with your family. But it doesn't mean to be silent upon a haram. It doesn't mean that it's okay to disobey Allah Azza wa Jalla and it's all right. No. You have to make it known verbally, physically, that it's not okay in general, nor is it okay in my presence. Please don't bring that to me. For your own sake, and also for respecting me. And that is not extreme. We live in a time, as we said the other day, the mother, she said, I knew my sons were about to be radical terrorists when they started praying 5 times a day. That was the sign of their inhiraf. They were off the sirat al-mustaqim of life when they start praying 5 times a day. There's certain people who consider 5 prayers a day extreme. Wearing hijab is extreme. If that's your definition of extremism, then I'm an extremist, no doubt. If that's what you consider extreme, then call me an extremist. I can't help you. If that's what you consider to be extreme, following the rules of Allah and His Messenger to the best of our ability, then I guess I'm extreme. Allah knows best. Khairan inshallah. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh. So tomorrow night, inshallah, we wanted to do. See what he said? Chama, what he said? No, we want to do a dinner, but it's 10 o'clock. I don't know what people will eat at this time. So, see, if I'm all Somali people, I will know they will love breeze and hilib, breeze and meat, So, I want some suggestions. Either rice and stuff and what have you, the full course, or pizza and wings and stuff. What's the vote here? I want to make it